All right, everybody, here we go. Today is Wednesday, August 5th, 2026. As you can see, my co-host today is Mike Compton. We'll have Amy Castro in just a minute. Isaiah's still out sick. We have a lot to get to. Big day in the primaries. A4 and A5 go down hard. Missouri voters rejecting A4 and A5 in a big way. Let me bring in Amy as well. We're going to talk about, let me get this. I kind of like this 3-screen shot like this. All right, this will work out just fine.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good
How are you?
morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Rob.
I know. I watched your coverage last night. You guys did a great.
Like,
You guys did a great job. I got to tell you, getting better and better every time you guys do it. So I enjoyed it. I was bouncing around a little bit last night because I had all kinds of stuff going on with my wife, and I had trying to keep up with the primaries, and just a lot of information to try to digest what really is going on in the state of Missouri. I continue to say one of the things that I'm starting to recognize that I think is going to be hard on the Republican Party is the Democrats seem to be, and just liberal ideology in general, seems to be united against Donald Trump and the Republicans. And then you have this split within the Republican Party. And I think it's going to spell disaster here before too terribly long. It's starting to take shape because you can see the vitriol between the establishment and the grassroots in Missouri. And I'm down in Florida. I go back and forth. You have the same exact thing going on in Florida. So I have to guess
within the Republican Party?
And the Republican Party is
Okay.
split in the Republican Party against people that are grassroots. Right now, in the grassroots in Florida is heavily behind James Fishback and Paul Renner, and the establishment, one after another, is lining up behind Byron Donalds. And there's the grassroots are against the AI data centers, and then you have this kind of, I don't know, balancing act that the establishment says, oh, no, we're not going to make you pay for the AI data. That means they're coming.
Yeah.
You're not going to have to pay for them. So there's this big split amongst grassroots conservatives in the state of Florida. I see the same thing going on in Missouri. I have to believe that is nationwide, just based on the tea leaves. What is your take, first of all, on, let's just start with A4. This was the idea that we could, that the citizens, the IP, you need 50+1 in all 8 voting districts, which I think just really gets rid of the IP process.
It does.
Yeah, I have a dentist friend of mine, very astute politically. She thinks this was a big mistake by Missouri voters. And I am on the other side of it. I say, see where you're coming from. Out-of-state money is going to be able to come in. It is going to be able to market and turn elections in the state of Missouri. But at the same time, if you take the vote away from the citizens, the ability to put stuff on the ballot, at some point, just if you look at what's going to happen in the midterms, in my opinion, I think the Republicans are in a world of hurt. I just do. I just can see it. And if that happens and things start to turn in favor of liberal ideology and Democrat ideology, and they have power, now what do you do? Now you're sunk. You can't fight them at anything they do. So I look at it and say, maybe a necessary evil for this moment in time, but long term, I don't think I want to put that into the Constitution. I'll start with you, Mike. What is your take on Amendment 4?
On Amendment 4, and it's kind of similar to Amendment 5, my message to the GOP establishment is, look, you're not going to be able to get anything through without dealing with the grassroots. You decided that you wanted to do these bills in a way that really, with A4 especially, you could have done the right thing. There was nothing that stopped you guys from setting up a system where it was either 6 of 8, or we used the state house districts, and it applied to all 3 paths to amend our Constitution, which if A4 had passed, all that big money would have just went to lobby our House members and senators to get the stuff through. Or like you say, if the Democrats take over, they would have a very easy path to add anything they wanted to the Constitution. So it didn't solve that problem. What they did is they took advantage of us knowing that we need to get this problem fixed, and grassroots Republicans and most Republicans wanting to get it done. And instead of actually fixing the problem, they took a chance that they might be able to grab more power for themselves, and it blew up in their face.
That's why I say, too, a real problem. I think it's a real problem, but a bad solution. That's the way I see it. What do you think, Amy?
I agree. And I agree with exactly what Mike said. I think he thought that we wouldn't catch it, or they would actually grab more power for themselves. There's this messaging that there's an enemy at the door. And what I don't like is there's an enemy at the door. You need to be really afraid. So give up your power and we'll protect you. I don't like that at all. For me, it's faulty. And it's also, no, if there's an enemy at the door, then you need to be communicating that to the conservative Republican constituents, and let's really get a strategy together. Because what it makes me feel like is it's really not an enemy. It's kind of somebody that you've got some little dealings with. And it's not playing out. So they've got to be, I guess, just more truthful. And I'm gonna share a instance. We were in Lincoln Day, and it was the wife of a state elected official, and she told me that well, you just don't understand. It's very nuanced. And I told her, well, then you better start sharing the nuance, because I'm not seeing it on these amendments, right? So if there's something that they know, they need to start doing a better job at communicating it. I mean, if we're at a true risk.
the nuance is the Missouri Inc. side of it, that the money that they want to get done. That's the nuance. That's why they can't tell you that.
Well, that's what it feels
I'm going to call
like.
BS on that. I know what
what
the nuance is.
And I'm trying to play the okay. Maybe there is. That's how Mike and I work. And I'm like, all right, well, let's say this, let's say that, and we challenge each other with that to go, yeah, and then we go, okay, yeah, it's bullshit.
I
So
agree with everything you guys are saying. This was my 4 was tough for me. I kept saying, I'm gonna withhold judgment on 4. Ultimately, I would have voted against it. I'm in Florida, so I don't have I didn't really want to weigh on it because I can see both issues. 5, on the other hand, was a no-brainer for me. But before we leave 4, I want to play a clip from Rachel Maddow. Did you see all over social media?
Yeah, I want to look. I saw a clip of it. Yeah, let me see it.
She weighed in on Missouri, and then I want to remind everybody we have Senator Joe Nicola. He's coming in at 9:30. I want to have him on. He wrote an article about just conversations that we're having in the state of Missouri and around the country, and it's getting to it's becoming a negative and not a positive because there is no conversation. There's just flames being thrown, flames being thrown the other. Now we're talking past each other. And I keep saying to the Republican Party that just do not want to embrace the grassroots. We want the same things, don't we? Where are we different in the things that we want?
No.
The only difference is the way we get there. Your way.
That's the problem. I don't think.
Like I said, they could have made the grassroots very happy and solved this problem with A4, and it would have passed by a large margin last night. But they chose the path that they chose, and now hopefully they'll go back and realize that they can't do that, and they'll give us what we really need,
or they'll work around it.
Yeah,
that's what I worry about working.
Owen Schroer actually tweeted about Amendment 5, and I responded back. I'm like, did you read the bill?
Did he? I heard you talking about that last night. I didn't see it.
Yeah,
Owen Schroer, people don't know. Yeah, he's from InfoWars.
Yeah.
He's from Missouri.
I imagine all he saw was Missouri rejected eliminating income tax and didn't know any of the details, is what I'm guessing.
I have a friend of mine that sent me something yesterday, and he said Missouri voters are insane. Here's a finally chance to get rid of the income tax. And, this is what I mean with the drive-by Fox News crowd. They don't know what they don't know. You hear the headlines. They're like, who would not want to get rid of income taxes? And you're like, we know, but, we're paying attention now because we're not trusting the General Assembly in the state of Missouri. So we're paying attention to the way they trick us. And whether they're tricking us or not, I don't want to imply that this was a trick. I really don't. I want to impress upon the power in the state of Missouri that you're not trusted. That you got to work on the trust issue. If you don't work on the trust issue, then all of your big initiatives are going to go by the wayside. You're going to lose more and more power. You're going to cede it to liberal ideology, which you say you're fighting against. And if anybody knows, it's me. There is no trust within the grassroots for the establishment in the Republican Party. There's just none. And not a little bit, none. In fact, I think everybody is skeptical of the Republican Party. And that's not to say the Democrat Party is any better. We're just talking about the party and power. I want to remind everybody. And I think unless you address that particular issue, the issue of trust, I just think they're heading in the wrong direction. I think they're going to ultimately end up in a dead end where they're in big trouble. Let's play.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, I agree with that, but here's my issue is I know we're saying trust, and I'm with you 100%, but there's this feeling of we don't owe you trust.
Right.
Which is one step further, right? So we're going,
that's where the anger comes from.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, wow, we are in some serious trouble.
Yeah, that's where the anger comes from. All right. This is Rachel Maddow. Rachel Maddow is an interesting character on MS Now. I guess it used to be MSNBC. But she, in her program last night, she brings out A4 and talks about Missouri and A4. And, this is another thing before we play this. What I'm starting to see is the far left. And whatever the far right is, I think far rights are just conservatives. They're pro-life. They're lower taxes. They want government shrunk down. They want our borders protected. These are the type of things that I guess the far right believes in now. I'm starting to see a merger of the far right and the far left, which I can't believe I'm even saying, but I'm hearing more and more people talk about it. Here is the way Rachel Maddow described it on her show last night. Check this out.
Over to Missouri for just a second. And this is not something that's had a lot of national attention, but it's really, really interesting to me. And we've just had a profound result. This is a ballot measure in in Missouri. It's Amendment 4. The background here is that Missouri keeps having these citizen initiatives. And citizen-initiated amendments in Missouri in recent years have enshrined the right to have an abortion in Missouri. They have expanded access to health insurance in Missouri. They have legalized marijuana in Missouri. They have legalized sports betting in Missouri. There's been all of these citizen-led efforts in Missouri that have produced these liberal to populist results that have made Missouri Republicans very uncomfortable. But their voters have voted for these things and they don't like it. And so Missouri Republicans in recent years have done all sorts of incredible gymnastics to make sure that the will of the voters is not actually made manifest in Missouri law, despite the results that voters have really resoundingly handed them at the polls. So to that end, Missouri's Republican legislature organize this Amendment 4, which would make it harder for citizen initiatives to get on the ballot in Missouri. Instead of just needing to get a certain number of signatures statewide in order to get your initiative on the ballot, instead this would change it so that you had to get a certain number of signatures in each of the state's 8 congressional districts. This is a threshold that would not have been met by any of those initiatives I just described that Missouri Republicans didn't like the results for. So this was an effort to make it much, much harder for citizens to get what they want in Missouri. And Missouri voters gave them a one-finger salute on this one. Look at that result. Incredible. I mean, this is just under a third of the vote in, but look at that. This is projected to fail with an exclamation point or 10. Missouri Republicans, your voters are telling you something.
But I think she absolutely nailed that presentation of what went down last night. Do you guys agree with Rachel?
Yeah, I do need to correct one thing. I do need to correct one thing that she said, because she was talking about the signatures. This didn't change the signatures; it changed the final vote. But other than that, she nailed what really happened. So,
did you ever think that we'd be playing Rachel Maddow and saying this is the same position as the Great? Who would have ever thought?
I will say though that the left also voted against this, but the people on the right that voted against this, they do want to make it harder. They just want it to be fair, and they still want to have that safety net available for the in case of emergency button to pit. So,
but I guess I still have that question of that you're hearing. We heard this whole time from the Republicans. There's an enemy at the gate. And this has to be done, but yet, where was the fight on marijuana, abortion, and gambling? I mean, look at all this political money and time and energy and effort we spent on the A4 and A5, the millions and billions, all the dollars, whatever the dollar amount was. Yet when it came to the marijuana, there was the Republican Party did nothing, very little to fight against that. Yep. Very little to vote against gambling. Well, my only conclusion is they want it.
They do want it. Of course they want it.
That's my only conclusion. So when they're telling me there's an enemy at the gate, I'm like, it's your friend. So what are you talking about?
Right. That's how I see it. The Republican Party wants sports gambling. That's why you see all the money flooding into the Republican establishment for sports gambling. Same thing with marijuana. They want it. They just need it to look like it was done by the Democrats or done from the left or done from out of town money so that they can use it as a political issue. Same thing with abortion. And I think people are getting wiser to it. They're getting more sophisticated on how the system works. And I think it's going to be bad news for the Republicans because they are the ones in power. Not that the Democrats are any different, but the Republicans are in power. That's my take.
Yeah. And they do the same thing on the bills. They just let Democrats put their bills on a Republican bill as an amendment and let it go through when that's how they get some of the bad stuff done. And then they say, well, the Democrat put it on, and they hope that most people don't realize that we have the supermajority. We could have told them to go pound sand, and we let them put it on.
Let them.
Do you want to explain to people very quickly? Because somebody sent me a message last night, and it was out of towner, and was just follows the show. So he said, "Man," he goes, "I'm looking at this Amendment 5, and I can't believe how bad this thing is failing. It's just incredible." The complimenting us. Basically saying that, the Missouri people are really starting to get with it, because when you say you want to get rid of income taxes in a red state and it fails 80-20, that means that the people that are voting are starting to understand what is happening here. And it also shows the split between the Republican Party and the united nature of the left, right? Because it's an open primary, so they are open to both parties in this vote. I think that my gut feeling is this is an example of what is to come for the power structure in the state of Missouri and around the country. People are not happy. They're spending too much on their groceries. They're spending too much on energy. There's a lack of trust in the institutions. There's a lack of trust in both parties. And when there's a lack of trust in both parties, in my opinion, the party that's in power gets spanked. And I have a feeling we are going to get spanked. And I mean, we, the conservatives, I don't see myself as a Republican. I'm a conservative,
I
libertarian.
think
I see
I
trouble.
think there's a real concern for that in November. First of all, they're not going to have Trump's coattails to follow on in November, and then everybody's utility bills has gone up. That everything they've done has been to anger the people. I mean, me and Amy go out to all these different groups around the state, and they are angry. The everyday people are they're
angry. And I'm going to share, because I think this is really important. So we travel, so we are going to Republican groups, and some of the groups that we've met, I guess you always think the Republicans are the money party, or they have all the business people. I saw working class people that looked dog tired and sick and not well and beat, and I just looking around, and I'm like, okay, this is what the Republican Party is missing. These are their loyal conservative Republicans that look like they have been worked like dogs. And I'm thinking they are so out of touch while they're busy doing their stuff. The people are just getting creamed.
Exactly. And I think that's the how people feel at home, the anxiety over the checkbook, how long they're going to have to work, what their savings accounts look like. Are they able to make their bills with their checks? Are they digging into their savings? Do they have any savings? If there's an emergency, can they manage it? And when, I don't know how women feel about it. I really don't. As a man, I see as I have to provide for my family.
Mm-hmm.
I have to make sure that my family is secure. I have to make sure that they have all the things that they need to enjoy their lives. And when the pressure to perform as a husband and father gets out of control, and you're thinking, my God, is this what life is all about? I'm working my tail off, and I look up and I got $400 in the bank after working for 10 years, and I got 2 kids that are getting ready to go to college. Now I got to pay for the college. I have a friend of mine who just sent me something this morning, Amy, it breaks my heart. This is a friend of mine who I've had for 40 years, and his father is a Baptist preacher. They can't pay the tax on their home. They can't pay it. He said they want $7,000 in property tax. He goes, they can't pay it. My parents are in their 80s, and they don't know how they're going to pay for their home. Think about that. Think how insane that is.
And then put on top of that those people that you're talking about have been voting for conservative Republicans all their lives.
Yep.
And they have assumed that if they did that and they voted and supported those candidates, that they would have the things that they've been promised, or a better, and even I'm going to relate it to the federal level. Trump has made a lot of promises. I'm not seeing it on the ground here, so I don't know what's happening. But I think until we have some real conversations about that, we're in trouble. Yeah, we're in big trouble.
Yep. You think it was a win for the grassroots, just from a strategy standpoint? The grassroots were heavily against A4 and A5, pretty much across the board. Now, Freedom Principle was for both. Americans for Prosperity. I don't know if we consider these grassroots programs. They seem very attached to the Republican Party.
So I think they took that term, just like the left likes to take words. It happens on the right too. So
I don't see any distance between organizations like Freedom Principle, the Show Me Sentinel, Americans for Prosperity. I don't see a lot of distance between what they are advocating for and the Republican Party itself. So I don't know if they're grassroots necessarily. I think they would consider themselves grassroots, and we're on the wrong side of this.
Mm-hmm.
But the hardcore grassroots, the ones that hang out in Jefferson City, the ones that are challenging the Republican Party, they had a big win last night, no matter how you look at it, because this was an overwhelming ass kicking on A4 and A5.
Well, it shows that, and that margin, they can't blame it on the Democrats, because that was
too big. Yeah.
Too big. So it shows that we were able to educate the people. The people heard the message, looked at the bills for themselves, and decided those are bad amendments and voted them down.
Right. And I think one of the things that needs to be recognized is our side of the grassroots fence: Act for Missouri, Shield Maidens of Missouri, People's Lobby Missouri. The voters listen to us. Just that simple. The voters listen.
Watch. Yeah. No, there's a lot of people listening.
Yeah. Well, if you just look, there's no way that people would have been this educated without our groups explaining to them what we saw. Not saying that A5 was this, grand master scheme to steal everybody's money, but there was no detail behind it. Therefore, we're trusting people that we have already determined we don't trust to put forth, some form of implementation on A5 that would benefit the majority of Missouri citizens, and people just didn't buy it at all. And I really think that is because, and they would hate us for this. I think, Mike, you would agree, Amy, you'd agree. The Republican establishment is going to hate us for this because they're going to blame us. They're going to call us Marxist and communist and everything else. That's why I want to bring Joe Nicola in, because, his article made mention that, this type of labeling people is destructive. It's not helping the cause when you are intentionally using derogatory terms against grassroots that are rooting for you on almost all of the issues you say you're trying to get implemented. Only splits the party up and does no good for anybody. And I see that he's in. Let me bring.
Yeah, I think that was a great article he did, and the demeanor and everything is the Joe Nicola that I saw enter into office, and I want a lot more of that. I want a lot more of this session. I want him to get up there and be the fighter that I know he is. I know it. I've seen it, but he's very kind. He's generous. He's got a big heart.
Gentle.
Yes. But up there, we need a warrior. And it's not time to be kind.
Yeah.
Think about the black robe.
Yeah. I think the argument that I have with people even close to me before we bring in Senator Joe Nicola is that the first thing you have to do is create the debate. It's exactly what happened with A4 and A5, because you guys were crisscrossing the state, because Shield Maidens of Missouri were crisscrossing the state. We have a forum here to talk about these issues. People became more informed, and they can make a decision not based on,
not based on what we tell them, but what is actually written.
Exactly.
Or based on the talking points that the party was wanting to put
and all
out.
the money that was flooding in, $20 million flooding in plus A5. And I know that Joe Nicola was against it as well, but I think what happens is the more people become, this is my take, and this is why I do the show. Number one, I think you have to have a certain amount of entertainment value so that when people listen in, they don't just fall asleep because you get down into the woods and down into the weeds with everything that you're talking about. People just glaze over. I know it because I do this every day, right? I can tell where the action is at. But if you don't create a conversation where people feel like they understand what is happening, then the big money comes in and sways their opinion, and you can't get out of that cycle. So what you need are people that are just turn that off, all that money that's coming in, all the flyers and all the AI videos and all the commercials and all that nonsense. You just dismiss all of that and you say, okay, let's talk to the people on the ground that are just trying to do the best for the state of Missouri. Let's listen to what they have to say. Listen to both sides. We'll read the bill. I think this A5 was 2 pages long. We'll read the bill. If we can't understand it, I started seeing these videos coming out. If you can't understand it, don't vote for it. 100%. That's what I would say. If you don't understand it, why would you vote for something you don't understand? That doesn't make sense.
If you don't understand it, how do you know if they're going to do what they lay out to do?
Correct. All right, let's bring in Senator Joe Nicola, and let me get this. There he is, Senator Joe Nicola. Welcome to the show, my friend.
How are you guys?
I'm
Hey,
doing
Joe,
great.
good to see you.
Got to give you congratulations.
You.
I know you supported Rick Bratton, and Rick Bratton won big last night. Got an endorsement from Donald Trump, so I know that he's become a friend of yours in the Missouri Senate. So congratulations on that. And then I wanted to ask you about your article. This is what I've been talking about. You know me, Senator Nicola. I get a little bit hot every now and again, and I myself. I can't say that it'll never happen again, but I'm a pretty rational guy, pretty logical guy. I like people. I like people that disagree with me. I don't even mind people that try to destroy me, so long as I believe that they're doing what they really believe. They're not just out there trying to make a dime and this kind of thing. So I thought your article was at a perfect time. I agreed with it 100%. What are you trying to get across to people, especially with the grassroots and what I would call the establishment or the structure of the Republican Party? For me, at least, I think conversation has to happen, because with A4 and A5, I think that sends a pretty loud message that people are paying attention to the grassroots on the ground in the state of Missouri. What's your take?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I just thought it was pathetic and it was horrible the way A5 has been presented with these flyers that were outright lies, the TV commercials. And then it even got further, trying to align me with socialists and wacko liberals because I didn't like Amendment 5. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. Putting me with Marxists and communists. We just posted another article this morning. It just came out, a blog post talking about this very thing. And, I'm going to do my best to stand with the people and represent the district that I have. And I don't care who's for it or who's against it. And I think this is doing harm to the Republican Party.
Yes.
It's destructive. And I've had people send me messages, all kinds of different things. And it's just crazy because we disagree. We disagree on the Senate floor all the time. That's debate. I don't hold my legislation as part of my identity. If somebody doesn't like my legislation, I don't take it personally. But too often, some of these guys do. It's part of their identity, and they feel like they have to just crush anybody that's in opposition. And that's how I felt about this Amendment 5. They weren't willing really to have some honest debate about it. Let's do both sides. I was in one at a We the People here in my just outside my district with Representative Bishop Davidson. He spoke in favor for it, of course. Then I got up and spoke in opposition to it. And then we took questions together, but that was really it. I was never really invited in to have the honest debate and conversation. I'm just called names, and I'm aligning with liberals and socialists. And my constituents know better than that. My supporters know better than that. And it's just doing harm. It's destructive. I'm really pretty saddened about it, and still quite angry that this is what we're going to do. We're going to lie to people. We're going to lie to especially the elderly. I mean, that mailer that came out and said your neighbors know how you vote and your score can go up. I mean, what in the world? It's
Well,
just
the one where they
absolutely
said they were going
ridiculous.
to lose their home. There was a lady that we were at, and she was so upset. She said, "They told me if I don't vote for this, I have the flyer. I'm going to lose my home."
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. And even tying property tax, they know, and that's really my priority, in the Senate is let's get some property tax reform. We went into, as the Republican Senate caucus, we went into this last session with the number one priority of property tax reform. The House had committees all last summer. The Senate had committees. We had all kinds of property tax reform legislation. And what did we end up with? This horrible Amendment 5. And we did it all in a night. We voted on it at 12:30 in the morning. I was handed the final version 1 hour before we voted on it. Well, I don't have time to read it and digest it, even though it is only a page and a half, 2 pages.
And I want to say too, Joe, that was after 10:30. It was about 11 o'clock that night that they brought that substitute out, and it was there were a lot of changes in that substitute from what had been through the committees and stuff we'd never heard even debated before. And again, you're right. It only took an hour and a half, and you guys were voting on it. And
Senator Nicola, is that why? For me, this is why I get skeptical. I look at it more so. I don't dislike Bishop Davidson. I don't know that he's been generous to me. We text back and forth. He gives me his opinion on things. As I understand, that's what he was doing. I'm friendly with Ben Keithley. Ben Keithley was in favor of A5. I have nothing bad to say about either one of these guys that I know. I don't know anything bad about them. But when it's the same thing. You get guilt by association. They're out selling it. And then the people that are selling it along with them are attacking everybody. I mean, I was same as me. I was out on social media and I hadn't even made a decision on A5 yet. I just wasn't supporting it. I was trying to decipher it. I wanted to hear what Amy and Mike had to say. I want to hear people that I trust in the game get their opinions on it before I said anything publicly. And on social media, they're calling me a Marxist, communist. Somebody implied that I'm getting money from a Swiss billionaire. I don't even know what that means or what they're talking about. Right. They're putting this out there to where, I'm the same as you. I'm a brand to myself. The people that pay attention to me, they know what I'm all about, whether they like it or don't like it. They know where I stand on things. So it doesn't even bother me necessarily. What I think happens is the people that do see it, that are supporters of mine, that are supporters of you, are supporters of Bryant Wolfen, the people that, because we have very hardcore support, when you're like us, you get a lot of support or you get a lot of negativity. But I think the supporters see that and it turns them off to the entire party. And that's what we were talking about earlier. I think that we have to be able to communicate with one another, or this divide is going to get even worse at a time when conservatives should be banding together. We're fraying, and I think I think your article is right on the money. Do you think that there was something just a little nefarious just by the way as you said, you're voting on it at 12:30 at night. You don't have time to digest it. This is where the grassroots go, okay, they wouldn't do it this way unless there was a poison pill in there somewhere. Do you have the sense that might be the case, or do you just think this is just the way it is and there's nothing really nefarious to it? It's just the way the Senate works.
Yeah, I couldn't say that there was something nefarious about it. I mean, I've been pushing back ever since I got elected on the process. I pushed back on the process of the maps when we did the redistricting. And there's just a lot of the process that we have that I don't care for. I don't like the way things are being done, and they need to change in my opinion. So no, I couldn't say that it was nothing nefarious. And going back to these attacks, when I voted no on the Senate floor, it was within days. Americans for Prosperity sent out a mailer hit piece against me. I mean, I'm not even running for reelection. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And I got people. Actually, I had no negative comments about that mailer, but my constituents were thanking me for voting that way. And then when they saw it, they knew it was lying. I mean, this kind of stuff, they even put out a video on me and put it on X. AFP has been an absolute horrible organization in my experience.
Yep.
And they have liberal tactics. What's happened with A5 and these mailers and these TV ads are the same tactics that the liberal socialists use. It's if you don't agree, then you got to attack the messenger and attack their character and attack the person, because they can't debate it on just the merits of the actual legislation. And that's what I actually did. Everything I was putting out and when I did town halls, I brought the actual resolution. I said, let's read it. Read it for yourself. And I highlighted things and let's talk about this. Here's why I have concerns. And I want you to know what you're actually voting for, because it's not about really just eliminating the state income tax. I'm for that. That's fine. I want property tax relief first.
Me too.
I want to cut spending first. I want to get the budget under control first, and then let's see how much money we actually do need to raise to eliminate the income tax. But let's take a look at what you're actually, if this passes, what you are actually going to get. Because you're not getting the elimination of income tax. You're only getting a process to possibly eliminate the income tax.
Framework. Yeah, that was my argument. You get a framework, but you get no plan. And
Right.
And tell me if this argument makes sense to you, because this is the argument I'm making, and sometimes I don't know if I make sense until somebody of your stature tells me I'm crazy or not. I look at it and I say, if A5 would have passed, it creates a framework. There's really no plan. We have some promises that we're not going to tax this industry or that industry. But I look at that and say, well, wouldn't that just give the General Assembly, which, I have a lot of reservations about what their motives are sometimes, wouldn't that give them even more power? Because now you have the ability to tax particular industries, and wouldn't all the lobbyists come in with guns ablazing saying, don't tax my industry, you're going to hurt my business. And then all of a sudden you have all of these industries with all of this money begging everybody in the General Assembly not to tax their industry. And that just gives the people that take advantage of the system a little bit more power. That was one of my arguments with it was you're basically transferring a lot of power onto yourselves, because now you get to pick winners and losers within major industry in the state of Missouri. Do I have that wrong, or do you see it through that lens at all?
No, you're exactly right. And that was part of the statement I made on the Senate floor before we took the vote on A5. Every lobbyist is going to come out of the woodwork. And the governor wanted to exempt ag and health and realtors. One of the things I kept saying is, if that's true, why are the realtors spending $2 million to fight it? But I know they wanted to be actually enshrined in the Constitution that they'd be exempt. But one of the things I said is, we're going to be debating this up to possibly 5 years. Every lobbyist is going to come out of the woodwork, exempt us, we're going to have to pick winners or losers. It's going to be, it could potentially be a mess and take the air out of everything else. This would be the number one thing that we would be debating and arguing about. And the Democrats are going to filibuster everything that we can. We're going to have to PQ them to get something passed. I just saw that this whole thing was a mess. I didn't like the way A5 was written. I thought it was bad. I didn't even know this the night we took the vote on it. But I did some research and discovered we actually have a law that has been phasing out the income tax, and with a floor of 4.5%. And so I've already had some conversations with a few, and I'm going to take a serious look at that. And we can remove that floor and go to zero.
Right.
It's still based on revenue growth, and I think we can do many more things to make our state more appealing for people to move here, like property and property taxes. Our cost of living, it really needs to change. We can do a lot of different things. And the argument that proponents of A5 had was our state's not growing, and that's not true. Our state is growing. It's not growing in population as fast as Tennessee, but we actually created more jobs last year than Tennessee did, more than 2 times the amount. But there's still some things we can do to make it more appealing. And I think, when the current law we have now that is phasing the income tax down to 4.5%, it is very slow, but I think slow is responsible.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we should take our time with this. But again, I'll keep saying this, and I'm going to keep fighting for it. Let's get some property tax reform in the state of Missouri, some solid property tax reform. My county's still suffering. We were left out of that last property tax bill that's in the courts right now. And let's get the people some solid relief first. The income tax, I didn't have one constituent talking to me about income tax until after this thing passed. Nobody was talking about it here. I didn't run on it. And no constituent ever asked me in the 2 years that I've been elected, or even the year I ran, to do something about the state income tax. Nobody.
Well, that's very telling.
And everybody knows property tax,
Everybody.
eliminated.
The year before, last summer, we were going all over the state with these special tax committees, hearing all the stories, all the things that need to be fixed. And nothing came of it in the end. And Joe, you're right. If they had passed this, the next 5 years, we'd seen nothing on property tax, because everything would have been focused on the fight to figure out how we were going to do this.
Yeah. And I'll say this, nobody's told me this. It's just my own opinion and speculation. But I feel like there was a plan, but I didn't know what it is.
Yeah.
Right.
And if
we've wondered
passed,
that.
I believe there was a plan, and I believe that's why there were certain things that they put in there that like the exempting the gas tax, or exempting the lockbox on the gas tax money going to Department of Roads, transportation.
Yeah.
Why was that in there? I mean, there's things like that told me there's a plan, and they put these little nuggets in here so that they can act on them later. And we don't know what those are, but I do believe there was a plan.
Mike thought they were opening the door to toll roads at some point in the future. Just, if you have budget shortfalls, that's a good way to, and I hate toll roads. So that would have been a big one.
Yeah.
I got to ask you, Senator, just 2 more minutes. Amendment 4, what was your take on that? I don't know if you came out and spoke about that. If you did, I missed it. But what was your take on Amendment 4?
Yeah, I didn't speak too much about it. So I didn't prefer Amendment 4. I didn't prefer this one. I think there were some others out there better. Bill Kidd, when he was a rep, had a better one. A 6 out of 8 district, maybe going to House districts. Even a 2/3 vote majority would have been better, to be more in line with the U.S. Constitution. I didn't prefer this one. I did vote for it. I voted for it on the ballot. I think it's better than what we have. And quite frankly, the way the constitutional IPs are being used, and we're one of the few states that even have that process, I wouldn't even mind seeing that one go completely away. And that's actually what Amendment 4 was doing. Amendment 4 was making it nearly impossible to ever get a constitutional amendment passed again.
You think they could raise the General Assembly bar? And I think that would have made people go, okay, so long as we're at the same level, it's fine. The appearance of it, because I'm talking to people on both sides that I have a lot of respect for. Some were against it, some were for it. So for me, it was like, one of those type of deals. But don't you think that if this would have been the same bar for both the General Assembly and the citizens of Missouri, that this thing would have passed in flying colors? Once you just the sales job that says, okay, we're making it impossible for the citizens, but we're not going to change anything with the General Assembly. Just the appearance of that makes it look like you're taking power away from the citizens, even if that's not their main goal. That's the appearance.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was one of I said it several times before we voted on it. I said 2 things. Number one, who's going to pay the money to support Amendment 4 in favor of it? And how are you going to message it? Because there is no real good messaging. And that's what turned out to be. People weren't paying the money to actually promote it. And what's the message? You're taking the people's authority away. How are you going to combat that?
Right.
With this particular amendment. So, that was a hard one for me, but I knew that we weren't getting anything else, and that was what we were going to get. And I think it's better than what we have. That's why I voted for it.
Gotcha. Anything from last night that any primary races that you were really paying attention to? Any good news, any bad news from last night as far as people in the Republican Party winning their primaries? Anything that you took from last night?
Well, you know, I was paying attention to all of them because I want to see who I'm going to be serving with this upcoming session and the ones after. You know, it was interesting. Some of these races just kept going back and forth,
I
and a
know.
few of them were really close. And I was thinking, man, I'm glad I'm not one of those candidates because
Right?
I would need to take something for my heart.
Right. We were watching too.
um,
We're like,
Yeah, yeah, and I was certain Rick Bratton was going to run with it. I had no doubt on that one. The Lori Rook, Curtis Trent, we've been hearing for quite some time. Curtis was in trouble. I didn't know he was in that much trouble. She won by almost 5%. So that one, I'm sure Curtis is heartbroken over that, and that was a tough race. We'll see. We'll see what happens in November. You know, even out here in Senate District 8 with John Patterson, Carrie Engel got a lot more votes in that primary, and she
I
didn't even have
noticed.
a
I
primary.
noticed that last night.
Yeah, I think, and I, you know, John's got a lot of money. He's got more money than anybody else, any other candidate, even statewide. He's probably going to need to use it. And District 8's been going more. I'm not even sure it's purple anymore. I think it's more Democrat than it has been in recent years. So Carrie Engel's going to be a tough opponent, I think.
That's what I'm hearing too. In the general, I think it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
friend, thanks for joining us. I know you had a long
Absolutely.
night. I appreciate you coming
Anytime.
in. I loved your article. I agree 100% with you. So, or whatever we can do to help that cause, we'll try to do it.
Well, read the one that just came out.
yeah, look forward to reading the new one. Yeah.
I'm anxious to go read it now. I've been getting ready for this.
We're going to post it on socials too.
Okay.
We got 2 hours and 15 minutes, so we'll read it while we're on the air.
All right. Thanks a lot, Rob. I appreciate it. Hey, see you guys.
Thank you.
Take care,
Joe. Take
Bye-bye.
care.
All right. I like his demeanor, don't you?
Yes.
I kind of like his way. I remember I was in Louisiana, and I was on a little vacation, and I was at lunch, and I got a text message from his chief of staff saying that Senator Nicola wants to talk to you. And I think it's something I'd said on the radio. And at that point, I don't think I'd had any conversation with him. So I remember I was sitting outside of a restaurant. We had my entire family was in eating lunch, and I come out. And I remember I came back in, and my wife goes, you know, because I was out there for like half an hour. She goes, "What are you doing? What's going on?" Senator Joe Nicole. It's the first time I've talked to him. And I remember thinking that he made a great impression on me. Just doesn't necessarily agree with everything I'm saying, right? I tell people to agree with me. You don't have to hate me if you disagree with anything that I'm saying, but just have the conversation so I know where you're coming from and be decent about it, and don't just dismiss us as though we're all stupid. And he didn't do any of that. He said, I agree with you here. I agree with you. I said, what about this? He goes, nah, I don't really see it that way. And I came away understanding what's going on in the Missouri Senate better than I had prior. I'll put it to you that way. And I think that's the kind of representation I think we all want.
It's interesting that he said what he said, and I think this is really important. I want to talk to him more about that. Maybe we can some other time. He's objecting to the process.
Right.
So when I hear that, the question I want to ask is, why is the process the way it is? Is it just because we've always done it this way, and nobody's really called us out on it? It's like any kind of manufacturer or any kind of business. When you don't keep track of how things are running, little things start to go off the rail. And pretty soon the production is so off kilter, and then a new person comes in and they just start doing it that way. And then it takes an owner or a new CEO to come in and go, wait a minute, how did we get here? Mm-hmm. So that's my question. I'm so curious. How did that process, is it purposely being skewed, or has it been skewed over time?
I think power just makes process the way it works best for them. You know, when I was in school,
okay,
my degree, had I finished my 4 years of college, would have been in organizational psychology. That's where I landed. So I was in journalism for a while. Realized there was no money in journalism, quite honestly.
And look where you're at.
I didn't come from, I know. Isn't it crazy how the world works? I do.
You have a podcast that's trying to make money.
and now I'm doing journalism, and I'm making money on the journalistic portion of it. But I remember when I got into organizational psychology, and that was going to be my major, and I was in that for about a year. And then I got into business. You know, when I was in college, I was offered a job. I didn't have a lot of money. I already had a child, and I needed to make a living. Mm-hmm. Offering me a good living without, I think I told you yesterday, I lied and said I had a degree when I didn't. And I go into this organization, and I had the background of organizational psychology. And I think what happens, and what I think is missing in Missouri, is that organizational psychology. What the Republican Party should be saying is, if you're voting for ours, we hear you. We want to have these conversations with you. We want to bring in the people of Missouri to tell us what they think is best for us. We don't want to always be the only ones that have an idea. And when the idea for a problem is kind of half-assed and not a really great idea, but it's a compromise and this and that and the other, then I would say back to them, then why are we giving you supermajorities? What's the point? The supermajority is to breeze past the Democrat ideology because A, B, C, D, and E on your platform is what we want. And I think there's not a real strict organizational psychology within the Republican Party, and it always goes back to Nordstrom's. I worked at Nordstrom's, had a huge business back in the 90s. They were one of the biggest department stores, definitely per store. They were the biggest in the country. And as you're walking through, so in the back room of Nordstrom's, when you're walking in, there was a sign across every door as you're walking across and said, "Through these doors walk the friendliest people in the world. Through these doors walk the friendliest people in the world." And you see that every time you're walking through because the promise of Nordstrom's is that when you shop there, you're going to have a great experience because the people working there liked you. They wanted you to be there. They were going to cater to your every move. And that just bled into the psychology of the way we treated customers back in those days. The Republican Party should learn a little bit from Nordstrom's. They really should, because with the way I was attacked and the way I have been attacked on social media, and primarily from people that I know are attached to the Republican structure in Missouri, is just, it doesn't bother. It's actually good for me. That's why I try to tell them, I said, attack on, baby. Bring it. I said, because it works out better for me in the long run anyway. But it's not good for you because everybody's watching it and they're going, what are these people doing? They're calling Robb a Marxist. I'm a 56-year-old guy that completely changed his ideology on politics. It doesn't make any sense.
It really makes them look very foolish
and petty.
Well, and
we know what happened there. They tried to argue the points and they failed on the facts.
Panicked.
And that's what they were left with at the end was, well, let's try to call people names and maybe people will vote against or vote for it just because they think we're siding with the Marxists and the Democrats. And
and I kept trying to say bad policy doesn't need a party affiliation. It's bad.
That's when they first started throwing the attacks our way. That's what we said. Look, we don't look at who's supporting it. We don't look at the talking points. We look at what the bill does and what the effect's going to be on the people of Missouri.
We would have done the same process if it was a Democrat majority and they brought forth a policy on tax reform. We would have analyzed it the exact same way. We would have looked at it from a yes vote and a no vote, and we would have decided where we landed on it, and we would have done the exact same education process. So, like I said, bad policy is just that. You don't need a party affiliation.
I couldn't agree more. All right, let me get some advertising in here because I got to take care of my advertisers very quickly. And then we have David Robertson. I don't know if people know this, but let me see if I got it.
He was a winner, chicken dinner.
Winner, chicken dinner. And I had Jen Olson, who lost.
I know.
These were the endorsements. I told people, I said, I would vote for these people, but endorsements, these are the people I think are going to make a difference when they get there. It was Jen Olson, who lost, David Robertson, who won, and Brian Wolfen, who won. So I got 2 out of 3.
Oh, nice.
2 out of 3. Hey, babe.
Huh? Well, meatloaf in there for you? 2 out of 3. Yeah, all right. Got to have some fun today.
That's good. That's good.
Pretty much sleep last night. All right. eXp Realty. This is the first one I want to get out. This is our good friend, Debbie Genus. So if you're buying a home and you're in the family, you're in the St. Louis area, you're in the Missouri, Illinois, and Florida. She works in all 3 places. Debbie Genus, been in the real estate game for 28 years. She's also in the insurance game. So I try to tell everybody, the first time I bought a house, I got taken advantage of. I ended up losing a ton of money. I ended up having to fix a bunch of things. I bought it without understanding what I was doing. I always say when you're buying a house, you have to have a realtor who knows what's going on. Everybody thinks they can do it themselves. And as somebody who got ripped off once before, I always say go with somebody who has experience. Deborah Genus, 28 years in the real estate game. You can reach her at 314-482-9205. 314-482-9205. If you're buying a home or selling a home in Missouri, Illinois, or Florida, this is our realtor, Debbie Genus, 314-482-9205. And then John Grady. I got to talk about John Grady.
Yeah, John.
I thought he ran a great campaign. I don't understand what goes out in some of these places. I hear him talk and I'm like, how could he possibly lose? This is a military veteran. He's going there for the right reasons. He talks about his business being destroyed because of the hemp laws that are now in effect in the state of Missouri. I guess they pushed him out another 30 days if I have the story right. But I thought he ran a great campaign. I thought he was very clear about his messaging.
Mm.
I don't get it necessarily, but congratulations. I thought he ran a great campaign, and he's been a supporter of what we do here. SlapHappyHemp.com. If you're somebody who buys hemp products for pain or for whatever reason you might be buying hemp products until November, maybe now December, you can get a discount on all your hemp products at SlapHappyHemp.com. SlapHappyHemp.com. It's in Rosebud. If you go out there and check the place out, you can sit on the back porch, have a cigar if you like those types of things, maybe a little drink with John. Great guy, very interesting, very smart is what I found out. He is on Highway 50 in Rosebud. Again, if you are buying hemp products, get it from my man, John Grady, SlapHappyHemp.com, or you can reach him at 636-388-8771. One more time, 636-388-8771. I got to get Jones Air and Water in there. You guys got to get your Jones Air and Water systems if you don't already have them. Jones Air and Water. Again, if you're drinking tap water, if you're cooking with tap water, if you're cleaning your countertops with tap water, if you're feeding your dog and your cats tap water, don't do it. If you have those little illnesses and you always think, it's just the way it is. I get sinus infections. I get these little skin irritations. A lot of times it's the air and water that you breathe and drink inside your home or business. I highly recommend getting a air and water filtration system from joneswater.com. He's been around since 1995. He knows more about water and air than anybody that you're ever going to talk to. As he likes to say, you'll be the filter or you'll buy the filter, joneswater.com. If you want to do business with Everett Jones, who's been with me from day one, if you want to do business with Everett in Missouri, St. Charles County, Lincoln, Franklin, Warren, St. Louis, and Jefferson. If you go to the east side, the dark side, the Illinois side, Madison, Monroe, Jersey, and St. Clair. joneswater.com, 636-899-1040. And let me get one more in. We got just a couple minutes here. You guys know Helen. What do you think of Helen Gelhot?
Love her.
I love Helen.
Everybody that I talk to loves Helen Gelhot, and she's been wonderful to me. I have so many people reaching out to me. Just another one this morning. A buddy of mine said, my parents are suffering. They're having dementia issues. I got to get in touch with that doctor friend of yours, and I sent him the information this morning. I think if you need help with Dr. Helen Gelhot, you got to get a hold of me. I think Helen is swamped with business because she does a great job. AdvancedWellnessMed.com. The reason we wanted Helen to work alongside of us is because she thinks like us. She's outside of hospital administrations. She does her job to fix patients, not to make money. And there's a big difference. There's a lot of doctors that are just trying to get rich. And there's a lot of ways to get rich being a doctor. But one of the ways you don't get rich is to take on all the expense yourself, do it on your own because you think that's the best method to treat people. That is Dr. Helen Gelhot. You can reach her at 314-576-0094, advancedwellnessmed.com. Very quickly, anything that kills you, she specializes in. It's the truth. Earliest cancer detection available. So if you have any cancer in your family, you need to take a blood test, which insurance will pay for. Then she analyzes those blood tests and she'll tell you how to manage your life so that you get healthy. The earliest cancer detection blood test available. She treats Alzheimer and dementia reversal symptoms. This is where I'm getting the phone calls from more than anything. You'd think it'd be cancer, but Alzheimer's and dementia really puts a strain on families. So as soon as you see the mind starting to go with somebody you love, maybe it be friend, family, doesn't matter. You got to give this lady a call. Dr. Helen Gelhot for Alzheimer and dementia symptom reversal, 314-576-0094, 314-576-0094. And again, pre-screenings for strokes, heart attacks, cancer, Alzheimer's, dementia. She takes care of anything that kills you. AdvancedWellnessMed.com, 314-576-0094. All right, we should see David Robertson here in just a minute. Let me see if he's on here. I see him, but he was on another interview. He said as soon as he gets off, he'll come on.
Yeah, we haven't talked to him in a while.
I'm very excited that he won. I emceed his event. I am somebody who it's hard to get my endorsement because I am such a skeptic. There's a lot of people that I like and that I would vote for, but when it comes to endorsing when I endorse somebody, for me, that says I'm attaching my name to you. Mm-hmm. I'm going to attach my name to you, and then you do something shady at the end. I become a very
He won my respect when he originally was going to run for the Senate there.
Yep.
And then Jim Avery jumped in, and instead of, he put his ego aside and said, that's better for my district. I'll move back to running the House. And nobody worked harder than David Robinson.
That's why I love him. Yep. That's where the respect came from. You know what hard work did for him? before he comes on. I hope he's listening, but I think what hard work did for him was made him a better candidate, because when I first talked to David, I think he really wanted to run for office because he got fired from his job. He was a professor at Principia College, and he got let go over his stance on vaccines. And right away, I'm like, okay, I want to hear what this guy has to say. And he was a little shaky, right? Nice guy, really shaky. And I remember saying, I don't know, he might be too nice. And that irritated him. And he called me, and he said, I heard you say that. And, I'm a nice person, but I don't compromise my principles.
Yeah, he doesn't. That's true.
And I said, oh, now you're talking my game, because that's the way I am. I'm a nice person. But if you're telling me to do something I think is not in line with the Robb Carter Constitution, then I'm not going to do it. I look up to God and I say, God, I'm not going to start working against you for any amount of money, for anything. That's just not going to happen. And when he said that to me, I started paying attention to his campaign from that point forward. He was up against a player. Castile was a player.
Yep.
And he thought he was going to win. When I talked to him, I said, shoot straight with me. What are you hearing about the polls? What's going on? And David said, I hear really good things, but I'm not going to count my chickens before they're hatched. I'm going to run out every ground ball until the primary day. And he won. Let's bring him in. I see him on the screen now. Let's bring in David. There he is.
That's gone.
What's going on,
David?
Hello.
Hey, congratulations, man.
That was a big win. I'm sorry. Oh, I appreciate it. Yeah.
Did you stay up and party last night?
What's that?
Did you stay up and party last night?
Yeah, as long as I could. Yeah, we had a watch party over at the Rocking J Ranch, where I have a lot of my supporters, and it was great. But I also crashed, so really hard last night.
I bet you've been working your tail off. So I just want to congratulate you, number one. Number two, I thought that was a big victory. I did not think that was going to be easy for you, because I think David Castile is kind of he's aligned with power structure. I'll put it to you that way. And those guys are always hard to beat, because they can throw money at you, they can smear you, they can do a lot of things. But I'm guessing you won.
They did both of those things.
I know they did. I know how they work. And I think you probably won because you just flat out outworked people. And that's what I'm thinking happened. What's your take on the victory? Because it's a big one. You're one of the very few that went up against the machine and won.
Yeah, I was looking at the results last night. Yeah, I'm hugely excited. It was a machine I went up against. They outspent me at least 2-1. And we raised a lot of money for a grassroots campaign. I think they probably pumped at least $150,000 against me, if not more. It was nuts. And they did a lot of attack mailers, something like 6 different attack mailers. Probably, this is crazy. So I would estimate the total number of mailers for his campaign were about at least 20, if not more. We did 3 and a letter. But yeah, I was up against the machine. They formed a pack, and it was interesting. I was watching your interview with Ryan Hagedorn, and the same pack that attacked him attacked me. So it's this We the People Priorities pack. And billionaire Rex Sinfeld put $300,000 into that. David Castile's pack put $31,000 into that. I think that was to cover the attack mailers. But it was nuts. I was like going against just, all the forces. Anyway, I won't say it. Forces of darkness seem to come out and
right.
prevent you from getting in,
But they can be beat.
They can be beat, and it shows the power of door knocking.
Yep.
If I hadn't knocked the doors like I had, I would have been crushed.
Yep.
And I'm not a native. I didn't grow up down here. He did. So he had that card. He had all the forces. Yeah, he had all the forces of. And I've lived in Missouri for 16 years, but I did not grow up here. There also were a lot of lies about that were told. Oh, I just moved to Missouri, or I didn't live in the district. Well, I can't run for office if I don't live in the district. But yeah, they threw a lot at me, and it was the doors that brought me through. Because people, they had met me. And many of them had met me. I knocked, I think it was 14,000 doors personally.
That's what I was going to ask you. How many doors? And you started out really early.
I did start early, and I started in actually early June of last year. And I was at that point, as Michael mentioned, I had moved to the House race for it. And that was because David Castile ran for state Senate, left an open House seat, and there was another guy running for the Senate who we thought was a better fit. But I also knew, so I was the only one running at that point, but I knew I needed to start knocking now and get ahead in that for whoever came into the race. And it turned out the incumbent came back in. But
well played.
Yeah, but it was the doors, when people, when they saw the attack mailers, I think they thought, well, I've met this guy at the door. He seems like a decent guy. And at the polling places yesterday, when I was next to someone from the Castile campaign. And actually, Castile came right up next to me for 6 hours at the polling location yesterday.
Really?
And he did. They called him in. I was there. There was someone else for his campaign.
Wow.
And then I think someone made a phone call. He came right up next to me. Anyway, I won't. There were a lot of kind of haranguing me at times and stuff. And
really,
but,
what happened? You got something that happened.
I
Don't
think
get me
that's
hanging.
nuts, man. It was nuts.
You won. To the victor go the spoils. What was going on there?
I don't know what was going on, but it seemed to me, now maybe he was legitimately just wanting to have a conversation. It seemed like he was kind of bickering and arguing with me as people went into the polls and constantly critiquing me and stuff. And I tried to just, not talk to him, but it kind of went on for like 6 hours. And it was like the final straw on this. I was like, man, I don't know if I can get through this. And then his campaign manager came down last hour, and they both were coming after me at times.
Were they trying to get you riled up so that there'd be a scene?
I think so. I think they were trying to get me riled up, and I also think they realized they were going to lose the race, and they were just angry. This is their chance to kind of, get back at me. But I don't know, and maybe that's my interpretation. Maybe they just were wanting to have a sincere conversation. But there were voters came by, and it was funny. We go back and forth, and he'd make arguments for the data centers, and I'd make arguments against them, and
you're having a debate out in front of the.
It was an ongoing debate. There were literally like 3 or 4 ongoing debates in front of the polling place. It was nuts, man.
I need video of that, David. That's the kind of video we use.
I know. I should have.
Come on, baby.
I'm so low tech. I don't think of that. If I had someone else there, I should have gotten video. It was comical. It was like some of the things that were said. It was. Just dumb stuff too. Like we had 3 large signs stolen, 4x8 signs stolen, and we had at least 2 medium sized, probably at least $300 or $400 worth.
Those are expensive. Those are expensive.
They're super expensive. And I didn't accuse anyone, but then it was like somehow you're accusing. Oh no, I just said the signs were stolen, and it was just crazy stuff. Debates about SB4, the utility bill, raising rates, and he was saying it was a consumer protection bill, was helping the citizens. We had a debate about legal immunity on Bayer, and he was arguing for that, and I was saying anytime you need legal immunity, that's a red flag that something's not right. Anyone with a brain knows that. So it was crazy, man. I was like the race this last month. Honestly, I'm sorry to talk so much, but
let it out. It's good for you.
It's therapeutic.
Yes, therapeutic.
It was honestly one of the last. I've enjoyed this race for most of it. The last month was like one of the worst. It was like living in hell, like going down to like the 7th level of hell for like a month because these attack mailers came out like all the time.
Yeah.
And it was some of
they
the
would have been coming
stuff.
out every week.
Did you guys see some of those? Or
we heard all about them. Yeah,
we heard about them, but I don't know.
So everybody's telling me what's being said about you.
So it was crazy. Like things like it's just like one of them was I paid my property tax late one year, and I did. And what happened was I didn't get the letter didn't get forwarded to me, and I didn't realize I was late. And then I got a notice like you're 4 months late. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I go down and I pay it. Well, they came out with that and like, don't let David Robertson anywhere near your money. He's got financial troubles. Like I don't have financial troubles. I just didn't realize. So stuff like that, like every other day was coming out.
That might have gained my vote. I look at it different.
Actually, a lot of people they were like, cool, this guy's one of us. Like
who doesn't accidentally
backfired.
Yeah, not get your car licensed in time. You're like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that it was overdue. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, no, it was.
Castile, did he call and congratulate you?
He did. He called me last night.
Right.
And it was a very honorable call. He called me up and
for him. Okay.
He was like, he said, you ran an awesome race. And he said he conceded and then said, and now you have to do the work of being a legislator. And I was like, I thanked him, and it was a very brief call. So,
well, that gives me respect for him. I can disagree.
Yeah, I did respect that he called me up. He did the honorable thing. And I think he knew I ran a good race. And, but the one thing I did too is I did not attack him personally. I exposed his voting record and his funding sources because I think those things are very relevant and they're hurting all Missourians. But I made a decision at the outset. I was not going to attack him personally. I was not going to dig up dirt. Unfortunately, their campaign did the very opposite, and I think it backfired. People got so sick of, like, there were mailers like literally every day, and they were so sick of them. So I think it helped me, the fact they did that.
Do you think what was the big issue down there? Do you think it was data centers? I'm looking around the country right now, and I'm paying attention to data centers and flock cameras, and that conversation is coast to coast. I see no rural communities that are in favor of AI data centers, not a single one. I see everybody in the community pushing against AI data center development within their towns. I got to think that was the wedge issue that probably got people to pay attention to what you were saying, especially if he was for them. Was there an issue bigger than AI data centers in your race?
AI data centers was pretty important. A lot of people asked me about it. I actually signed a pledge to support a moratorium. It was something that Ryan Hagedorn had set up. So I would let people know that. Also, flock cameras. Towards the very end, one guy was at the door. He's like, he said, "What do you think about flock cameras?" And I said, "I will do everything to stop that. I don't believe in a surveillance state." He's like, "You got my vote." So that was a big issue. Also, Amendment 5 came up a heck of a lot. I knew it would fail just from all my door knocking, because I think I had one person who said he was sort of semi-supporting it. And I had people every day, conservatives, Republicans coming out like, I don't trust this thing. It seems like a bait and switch. So you guys were right that, and then the polls bore that out, right? That was
big time. Where did that end up, you guys? Was that 80-20, right around 80-20?
Oh, yeah.
It was over 80%.
Yeah.
It's about 82%, I think, is where it ended up.
Yeah, that's to me, that's incredible. Dude,
mean,
what are you feeling like? I got to know what it feels like when you win an election. This is the first time you run for office, right?
Yeah.
So the first time you run for office, because I always wonder this, because it becomes a little bit of a popularity contest, right? Because you're being judged by the people. You're knocking on their doors. You're looking them in the eye. You have the Republican Party. You have the Republican grassroots. You have the Republican establishment. You have all these people with their eyes upon you, and you're trying to gain their approval. And then you win against an incumbent who has some power, and you win. I got to think that is very gratifying. How do you feel when you've won it, when it's in the bag, and you get the call from David Castile? What's that feeling like?
Besides passing out.
What's that?
Besides passing out.
Exhaustion.
Yeah, exhaustion.
Yeah, it was so gratifying. It was, and it was really hard watching the result. I was very nervous. I'd actually worked with someone, I'll just put it this way, a Christian I was working with spiritually in the Bible, because these last 2 weeks were absolutely insane. And I wanted to get a sense of peace. So I was working on whatever happened in the election. I'm still the same person. My value hasn't changed as an individual, as a child of God. And so I was working on that, and I got really nervous. Like, I was sitting there, people were like, "Oh my gosh, they just got the absentee in." And, then I walked outside and I talked to this friend of mine for half an hour, and I got really peaceful. And I was like, okay, whatever happens. I'm going to accept that. But then the results came in, and it felt so gratifying. And I will say, I ran a righteous race. I think God knows about that. So I'll just put it that way. I'm not saying I have so many flaws and foibles and faults, but he knows when someone runs a righteous campaign. And I will say my opponent ran a pretty dirty campaign, and God's aware of that. So
I love it. Did you get teary at all? By yourself?
A little bit.
A little misty-eyed?
I got a little misty-eyed. I did get a little I wasn't like bawling or anything, but I did. Some of my supporters, like there was a guy in my district who he campaigned so hard for me, and also for Jackie Reibold, who the county, by the way, Jefferson County had a great night for grassroots, because I know St. Charles County was rough.
Oh,
I know. Man, Bill Eichel's I don't know. He's the greatest guy. I don't know what's going on why don't people recognize that? But Jeff, we had huge wins down here. So I can't even, the county clerk's race was like literally 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. A guy named Steve Earp, who was a convicted felon.
Yes. Did he get out?
He did not win. It was Jackie Reibold won by 0.7%. Steve Earp was responsible for doing a lot of the attack mailers against me.
He's nasty.
So nasty.
Yeah.
And then also there were other, like Ann Maloney won. She's against the data center. She won her race by a few percentage points.
Yep.
And then a whole bunch of other people in county council races. And there was a lot of good news from Jefferson County.
That's great. That's great to hear, because we haven't dug in that deep onto some of the local races around the state. So that's really good news.
Great news. Yeah.
Are you friendly with Ann Maloney?
Yeah, I'm not super close with her, but I'm fairly friendly. And frankly, we were being attacked by the same people in the county, so we kind of bonded over that. They were coming after us like banshees out of hell. It's like, so I bonded with her over. I mean, I'm not super close, but I don't agree with her on everything, I don't think. But she was being attacked, and they've attacked her before. She ran for office previously, and they did some really such disgusting things about her family and stuff. One thing I'll mention too, Rob, you mentioned what were the issues here. I think the biggest issue in this race that helped me win single-handedly was 95% of my donations are from everyday citizens, not PAC special interest and lobbyists. And David Castile was the exact opposite of that. He took over $130,000 of PAC money, just his candidate campaign, not including his PAC, took $130,000 of PAC money the last 4 years. And people are so sick of it. They know most people are bought off. They're just sick of it. And that issue came up. I mean, it helped me win.
Really interesting. So that means the people voting are really starting to figure this thing out.
They are.
Money is changing the game.
They are at least the primary. These are the primary voters. They're pretty astute voters, and many, not all of them, but many of them. I would start talking about this, start nodding their head, like I know. They're all bought off down there, and it's like they know about it. So,
right on.
That's so great.
You got to hook me up with Ann Maloney. I want to talk to her. I was watching her campaign on social media, and I thought she did a nice job. I don't know her views on everything. I just thought she did a nice job of communicating. So I'd like to get her on and just pick her brain for a little bit. But man, I just want to say I'm really proud of you.
Yeah.
I know what a long race you put in. You started talking to me over a year ago, and I know sometimes when you work your tail off and you do it the right way, things work out in your favor. And I'm just really proud. I'm excited for you to be down there in Jefferson City. I think you're going to be an absolutely tremendous asset for people that want constitutional liberty, and I'm excited for you. I wish you all the best, man. Stay in touch with me, okay?
I will. I'm excited for you guys. Thank you for your endorsement, Rob, and thank you for your support. And also, Act for Mo. I look forward to working with you guys. I love what you're doing down there. You guys are addressing the exact issues we need to discuss, and so I'm excited about it. I'm also, open-eyed about there's a lot of wickedness down there and bad influences. So
you'll be fine.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, you're going to be fine.
Yeah, you're going to be fine.
I appreciate it.
I think you have the character. And remember, David, I only endorsed 3 people.
2 out of 3. Hey, babe.
Rob,
I want to.
My dad used to say, in baseball, if you hit a pitched ball to you 1/3 of the time, you'll be an outstanding player, and you're hitting 667. So you're great, brother.
Get some rest, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
I will.
Yes,
I appreciate it.
David
God
Robb.
bless you guys. Thanks.
I love that. I'm glad that guys like that win. I don't know Lori Rook as well. I want to move on to her very quickly. Lori Rook was another big one that the grassroots were supporting. I've interviewed her once before. Very popular, very and attractive in the sense that she's got a beautiful family. She's got a great track record.
Business,
and she's tough.
And she's tough.
Yeah.
So that was another big win that I wanted to get into. What was your take? What is your take on Lori Rook just in general? I don't know her all that well, but I know that was a big win, and I know the grassroots are heavily.
We got to know her when she was running for treasurer. She came through, and we had our headquarters there, and she came through a few times. That's what I took away from her. She's no nonsense. She what I liked about her when she's running for treasurer, and what I like about her in the Senate race, is she knows why she's running, and it's the right reasons. There's problems that she has identified that she needs to get fixed, and taking on Curtis Trent down there just shows you how tough she is. Most people would have not jumped in that race because they knew what kind of money they were going to be up against. You want to talk about the machine,
big time. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, that if there was one person that they wanted to see get through, it was Curtis Trent as far as the establishment goes. And they spent over $600,000 in just that last few weeks, and most of that was attacking her.
Well, how does
that's a huge win, and we knocked off the anointed Senate floor leader. That's just, I can't tell you so many levels. That's one of my favorite moments from last night.
So what is how does this shake up the floor leader debate? I mean, because as I understand it, he was going to be the guy. Who do you think is next?
It's going to be interesting now because, we had the Sophia Shore slate, and she got 4 of her 6 people in there. So if you add them to Mike Moon and Joe Nicola, and then you got to see how people like Nick Shore and Ben Brown, where they end up siding with, we could really shake up the whole leadership thing possibly, because you're getting close to those numbers there. but the bigger thing, I guess, is if those 6 stay together, we can stop a lot of bad stuff in the Senate, and ultimately a lot of bad stuff getting passed for the people that would
Amen.
harm the people of
You
Missouri.
know, and I'm going to go. Actually, you mentioned Bill Eigel, and here's where I think unfortunately just the timing of where he was at when he was in the Senate, grassroots just weren't as informed and educated, and he was labeled as a troublemaker and an obstructionist, and that he was hurting us without them. And a lot of them were repeating that. The Republicans are. They're like, yeah, he just went up there and he just was trying to do all this, bad stuff. He actually was doing a good job, but I don't think our grassroots Republicans, they knew enough to determine that. So he got labeled, and he hasn't been able to get out of that label.
You don't get credit for what you stop. You get credit. I mean, people give credit for the bills that pass, but the stuff that he stopped, especially in the last year or two that he was up there,
38 or 28, some really double digits bad bills, he actually busted out, like blocked. And I think Mike's brought that up. If you listen to his farewell speech, he explains that he decided he was going to be the goalie. That's the position he was going to take. He was going to block the score that was going to hurt us, to make our team win. And so he went up against the establishment and was fighting for the grassroots. But I just don't think the grassroots, we don't have as many, there were not as many educated back then. We were still relatively new too. And it was Lisa and Stacy, they were kind of catching us up to the game. And we're like, oh my gosh, okay. So we weren't able to get that message out to people. And like I said, I think he's got that label, and it's just a hard time trying to get him out of that label. But
I'm fascinated with that race. When I was on the radio, I had him in several times, talked to him privately, and he thought that he had enormous leads. And then Ellman comes back into the race. As I understand it, do you guys know this to be a fact? I'm hearing this from all the people surrounding me that Steve Ellman, who is now the primary winner for the county executive in St. Charles, gave $20,000 to Kurt Barr, who's running the elections, for his campaign. And then both of them win overwhelmingly against people that I thought were popular. Now Jen Olson's interesting because there's a love-or-hate relationship with Jen Olson with many people, primarily on the left, that don't like Jen Olson in St. Charles County because of her Wentzville board and
the school
board. You got the Wentzville, you got the liberals that hate her for that. But the people that were telling me what was going on in the polls, they believed, and these are people that are close to me, they said all of the energy was behind Jen Olson. When they were at the polls, they were getting a lot of support for Jen Olson. When they did their rallies and get-togethers and the door knocking, there was a ton of action around Jen Olson. And then she gets smothered in the race. And then you have Bill Eigel, who has name recognition for running for governor. And I mean, he didn't lose by a lot to be the next governor of the state of Missouri. St. Charles County, primarily red, it's a conservative area. And he gets smoked by Steve Ellman. Man, that is very strange to me. I don't know what's going on there.
Those margins just shock me. I can't get my head around it, and I'm hoping that I know Allie and Travis and Christian and stuff will be looking into what's happened there. But I would have never dreamed that it would turn out like that for Jen or for Bill or for Max. I thought was going to do much better. Annette Sheedy. I mean, it just seems like there's something. Either I've been completely wrong in how I thought St. Charles County was, or there was something else going on there last night.
Allie mentioned, because we had her call in last night, and she mentioned that the gains that were gotten from the absentee ballots, they just never could make those up. And we know that absentee ballots are absolutely where a lot of the fraud happens. So it needs to stop. I mean, we need to stop absentee ballots.
For some reason. So this was last night. So that is Kurt Barr wins easily GOP county election director. There he is against Jen Olson. And I'm, for me, I don't get it. I just don't understand it. I just don't talk to anybody anywhere other than other politicians that are supporting of Kurt Barr. But the people that I know in my life in O'Fallon, Lake St. Louis, St. Charles County, None of them are favorites of Kurt Barr. None of them. Zero. I don't have a person who goes, you're misreading the tea leaves here. Everybody really likes Kurt Barr. That's just not what you're hearing. And then a narrow victory might have made a little bit more sense. You know, people voted against Jen Olson because the Democrats don't like her, but just a tail whooping doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I just got to be honest. I don't see it. Doesn't make sense. And I'll leave it there. I don't know what's going on, but do we have that I want to play that Joe Brazel piece that when he was on News Talk.
I'll have to take something down here.
Yeah, I agree with you, Rob. There's something there that's, I don't know. I hate to say that the voter machine, something's happened. Either the voter machines are weighted, Allie mentioned that, or the voter rolls are being churned. And when they know those absentee ballots that are coming in, that gives information that feeds into that voter roll churning. So the longer span you have to calculate votes, the more you can read the trend, right? And if you can read the trend, then you can start to allocate how many of those you need to churn to go in. So we need to narrow that window down, same day voting.
I don't know that it doesn't feel like the people of St. Charles County are going to do anything about it. I think it's going to remain the same, and good or bad, I don't know. I'm not saying Kurt Barr is cheating. I don't want anybody to think that I say Kurt Barr is cheating. I just say you don't know. There's something is very strange. You just feel like you're floating in the ocean with these elections in St. Charles County because no matter how hard you try, you got Mike Lindell, who's been critical of Kurt Barr, a national figure, talking about an election director. He is he has been critical of Kurt Barr. You have Joe Brazel, who's very popular committeeman in St. Charles County, who's been all over social media. Then he goes on to radio stations and just crushes. He made a video called Kurt Cut the Wires that anybody can watch. So you have all of these power players coming out against Kurt Barr, and yet he wipes the floor with Jen Olson. I don't know, just seems very bizarre. I don't know.
I don't know. It doesn't if the Republicans are using it just like the Democrats.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem strange at all.
Yeah. If you look at it from that angle, you're right. Do you have that video?
It's there. You should be able to see clip 6 now.
Yeah, let's play this. I talked about it just a little bit yesterday, but Joe Brazel, who sits on the St. Charles County, is a committee? Is that what they call it?
I think so. Or alderman. Is it an alderman or committee?
Oh, he's a committee member for sure.
Committee member. Okay.
And,
the RCC, Republican Central Committee.
No, it's not even Central Committee.
Oh.
I don't know what this is. I don't know what this is. Somebody will know. I got to get my comments up here. I'm not even looking at the comments.
We're not ignoring you. We're flying without Isaiah.
Flying without Isaiah. I apologize. I'll start looking at the comments here in just a bit. But when I went to watch this, and I got to give my firsthand experience, I went after the elections in 2024 where Bill Eigel lost to now Governor Kehoe. As I said then, St. Charles County, one of the largest voting counties in all of Missouri, comes in dead last. Kurt Barr in that election, his wife wins by 1 vote. Mm-hmm. And then he does not show up to this committee hearing. You have people come in and say, wait a minute, here's what's going on with the elections. We need to pay attention to this. There's a lot of controversy about the elections. You got Mike Lindell. You got several people that are in cybersecurity coming in and say these elections, whether Kurt Barr is doing it or not, it's possible to manipulate these elections through the machines that we have. We had Mike Elam, who won last night. He turned his back on the presentation. Wow. So as somebody's explaining to him what they believe is going on within the elections, he turns his back. Joe Brazel's very popular. He's outspoken. Here's just a little bit of Joe Brazel talking about the elections. And I just don't think these totals make any sense to me. But here he was on News Talk, my former radio station, talking about Kurt Barr. Check this out.
Barr sitting there.
Here we go.
Our director, oh my God, our director of election, he just advertises and advertises and advertises on Facebook with the funds of the county, trying to promote early voting and all that. But what he's doing is I think it's wrong and it's against our actual charter. You can't be spending government money on advertising for your campaign. And that's exactly what he's doing. He's doing all these Facebook commercials, paying with taxpayer dollars. Oh, here's how we do and vote, all this stuff. And he never done that before. Every other time there's voting, he don't get on Facebook and do all these commercials. It's ridiculous.
Isn't that what got Sam Page in trouble? Same kind of deal?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So.
I mean, Kurt Barr, though, as far as the director of our election, is probably the most incompetent, lying person I've ever met. Now, I will tell the listeners on this station, if you want to argue with me or debate me on that, just all you got to do first is watch the video, Kurt Cut the Wires, okay? I did a documentary.
Kurt Cut the Wires.
Kurt Cut the Wires. Him and Mark Parkinson, his assistant, on tape said that they bashed in all the electronic jacks on the back of all the machines, cut the seals, and broke them so they couldn't get hooked up to the internet. It's on the video. And then he denied it. He's screaming at me. I got it on tape too, because they wouldn't pay for my election integrity meeting because I asked an FOI on him. I wanted all these questions on what he was doing with different logarithms and all this other stuff. And he blew up, and so he's a liar. And I got it on tape. It's a documentary. And also, Vic, which I think I told you the other week, Mike Lindell came in with Dr. Frank, and we had a meeting with all elected officials. And he was showing them the logarithms in St. Charles County, how they didn't look like there were patterns that could be problematic, okay? So Mike Lindell said, let me do a forensic audit on one of your machines. Let's just give me any one of them, and let me do a forensic audit. And then Kurt says, well, no, you might contaminate my machine. And he says, well, then I'll send you a brand new machine in the box, and then let me have a machine, and then we'll do the audit. He sent him the machine. This is true. He sent him the machine, and then Kurt sent it back to him and refused to do the audit. Now, can you explain to me why someone would do that?
Yeah. You know, if you have nothing to hide, you hide nothing, right?
Exactly. Yes.
And that's what he's doing. He's hiding data from a used voting machine.
And so he's running against Jen Olson. Jen Olson is a spectacular candidate. I hope to God she wins. It's so important to our county. She wants to go to hand counting. And do you know that Linda Rance does the hand counting seminars to different counties?
Oh.
She showed us how it's much cheaper. I asked him how much it costs for us to do this voting through these tabulation and stuff. He said $1 million. I had my secretaries do all the money they spent on machines and the programs, the transportation. You got to haul these things all around, put them somewhere, store them somewhere. He said $1 million. My secretaries came up with $6 million. He doesn't even know what the hell he's talking about. I mean, so anybody who, if you watch that video and you would vote for Kurt Barr, then you got to screw loose.
Where do we find this video?
It's on YouTube.
Okay.
It's on Kurt Cut the Wires.
Kurt Barr.
Yeah, Kurt Cut the Wires.
Cut
yeah.
the Wires. Got it.
And you might have to go to St. Charles County, Kurt Cut the Wires, St. Charles County. But it's just insane the stuff that this guy's coming up with. Yeah. And he's arrogant as hell, you know.
All right. Let's, we done?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But Jen Olson's who anybody should vote for her.
So that is, his take on things. And I keep saying to myself, these results don't make any sense. I mean, they just don't make any sense to me.
And
but
you know what stands out to me when you see that arrogance, and I think you'll agree with me on this, Rob, they know they're untouchable.
He said to me, Kurt Barr, and listen, I don't want to cast shade on Kurt Barr. I just don't think that's fair. If he won fair and square, he won fair and square. My issue has always been with Kurt that why not just take this issue off the table,
right?
Help us pay for it,
manage
it so that you take all these people that are naysayers and just say, listen, I hear where you're coming from. This is a conversation about confidence in the elections. And if big portions of the electorate don't have confidence in the elections, let me take that off. I'll keep my tabulators because, as I've said before, Kurt Barr has the tabulators all posted around his, like Farrah Fawcett. When you were a kid, you had the Farrah Fawcett posters. He's got the tabulator posters all over his room. And he loves the tabulators and he needs the tabulators, and that's that. But why not have a similar poster of hand counting paper ballots so that we can use both? And he always says that's the case. And this is the reason I find him disingenuous. It's not the case. It's not the case. If they want to take 5% sample ballots out of whatever counties they determine, and that is that's the hand counting of it. That's a lie. That means you're hand picking where you want to do the hand counted paper ballots just to see if it's correct. But you could be cheating in 95% of the districts and nobody would know anything about it. So just the fact that that's the way he frames it. I was listening to some of his commercials when he was running. I thought, man, that is just BS, man. How does he get away with that? And he did. Big winner. And I got to say this, even if you steal elections, if you win and nobody holds you accountable,
you win.
You win. It is what it is.
Yeah, you win.
As they say in sports, if it ain't cheating if you don't get caught.
Yep.
It ain't cheating if you don't get caught. And I don't know what's going on there, but man, that whole thing. And Bill Eigel got murdered.
Yep.
That wasn't even close. Elman, the electric county executive, Steve Elman in St. Charles County. Okay. All right.
I know. Huge margins in that one. It's something stinks down in St. Charles.
Something is odd, I think. All right, let's go through some of these other people. Ryan Hagedorn got beat.
Yeah.
and soundly. And I got even we had him on twice. Last time we had him on, I got more information about Ryan coming in, and the overwhelming response was that he has some connection to BlackRock. There was a connection to AI data centers because I think his dad works in the finance game, and they were investing in Nvidia and all these other types of places. I thought those were kind of weak arguments, but nonetheless, Ryan Hagedorn, who I thought was going to win, I thought he would be very appealing down there, but apparently somebody named Kelly, I think. Do you know who that race at all? You guys, by chance?
Yeah, I
Yes.
can look it up. I don't remember who the opponent was right
I know
now.
it seemed like there were a lot of local farmers that came out against him, and that's a hard when you got your local farmers coming out against you.
Yep.
Those people are pretty much salt of the earth people, right? I mean, they had I saw a horse trailer and it had a big sign on it, and I'm like, oh yeah, no, that's no good.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure we didn't look into that one a lot, so I can't. But I did see some of the people that didn't want him, and that looked pretty.
Yeah, I was a little surprised that the margin of victory. That looked like he took it a pretty rough defeat, if you will.
Yeah.
The other one that I was surprised at. Go ahead, Mike. I didn't mean to interrupt.
It was Brendan Kelly who ran against
Brendan
him.
Kelly. Okay.
Do we know anything about him?
I don't know anything about him. Okay. I mean, honestly, I met Ryan a few times. I heard him talk. I saw what he was doing on social media. I really thought that he would probably be able to carry it down there. So I didn't spend a lot of time looking at that race. And
like I said, when I saw the other local farmers come out against him, as you say, Rob, when it doesn't make sense, it makes sense. Yeah, right?
I gotta get a t-shirt. Did you see my t-shirt today?
Yeah, what does it say? The body's natural defense against arrogant Kels. That's great. Yeah, I like that.
My wife bought me that.
Dan Osley had a shirt on, and it had 5 stars, and only one was gold, and it said "Government, 1 star. Do not recommend."
My wife got me this one. I said,
"Honey, nice."
She gets mad at me when I'm being sarcastic because I always tell her I speak fluent sarcasm. So I'll be saying the exact opposite of what me. She goes, "How can you say that?" I said, "Honey, I'm just being sarcastic. You haven't picked that up." She does not speak sarcasm at all. I speak sarcasm. So
well, she's in a pragmatic career. She's got to save lives, save people.
Harder than me. So I gotta hide it with sarcasm. All right, Ike Skelton. So here's the deal with Ike Skelton that I find very odd. I invited him on the show the week before, and he got to door knock, and I never got to have the chance to speak to him. But here's a guy that goes out and stands up for his community on flock cameras, which is the big issue of the day. It's a big issue everywhere. Citizens are not for flock cameras, heavily against them from what I can tell. And he loses down there. That one kind of caught me off guard. Who did he lose to? And is it somebody that has big resume?
It's Vogel. Vogel's dad was a state senator. That's family, owns the Coca-Cola plant. Lots of money there. And what I think happened with Ike was, first of all, you had like 6 candidates, and Rudy Veit and Ike got almost about the same number of votes, and I think they were splitting that vote, the conservative vote, although I don't think of Rudy all that conservative, but I know lots of people liked him in that area, and I think they split the vote, and if you combine their 2 votes, they would have had enough to win, so we ended up with Vogel in that seat, I think is what happened.
And again, I feel like Ike was a little bit ahead of his time. He started fighting the flock cameras before everybody clued in. Now, had that happened now in where we're at, he would have been a hero, right? Clearly. But he did it so early that a lot of people, I think that was, that's a pretty strong action to go and take something down. And I think for a lot of people that was too rebellious. That might have been too rebellious. Then I think with all the flock cameras going down, they would have been clapping and cheering even more. And unfortunately, he was ahead of his time. He's a strong liberty constitutionalist, and
I was thinking maybe
that one hurt me.
Yeah.
After he lost, I thought to myself, I probably shouldn't get into politics, because for me, that would have been such a big issue that your government is actively trying to spy upon you. And then you have a citizen who says, I have the authority, I believe, to take things down because I don't want my citizens spied upon. The state of Missouri comes after him. He has to settle with them. He does it with all that bravery and taking, really taking the slings and arrows against the Missouri state government to do something I think protects liberty. And he's not rewarded for that. hard for me to understand. I got to tell you, I would think that would
Well,
be
again, I think people
Right.
just aren't quite educated enough. I mean, the fight is here. If you're not going to fight now, the longer you wait, the harder the fight gets, right? So you might as well.
And let's face it, the establishment in a lot of these races, and the other one that hurt me really bad was also the kind of the same deal. I think they figure out we're just going to keep putting people into the race until we get the split that we need to get our guy through. And the other one that hurt me really bad in the Senate was I hated to see Dusty Blue lose last night.
How does he? It's another one.
But again, that was another one where they ran a third candidate, and Dusty and that guy split the vote. And
that seems to be the game, isn't it? If you have,
I think that's what I'm seeing in some of these races. I'm sure that's what happened is they just figure out, well, we just got to get the right number of candidates in there so we get the split that favors our guy. And
how do you get over that? What do you do? Because that's what I'm seeing too. Because Dusty Blue, I don't know how many people know him that listen to the show. Dusty Blue is a very attractive candidate. He's got a military background. He's got a beautiful family. He's articulate. He's a guy that you would think would be a terrific politician. You think people would gravitate towards him. So when I saw that he didn't win, I'm like, who is he up against? There has to be something really strong.
I thought he ran a great campaign. He was up against Ed Lewis, who was one of the people that brought us some of these bad bills. So some of the sponsors of some of the bad bills. And Ed Lewis didn't win, but we still didn't get Dusty Blue.
But at least Ed Lewis didn't win. Yeah, Ike was really hard. I'm concerned because I felt like Ike was going to be the one to be the lead, the Eigel replacement in the Senate, and that because he's willing to sit at the lunch table by himself.
And that's what, when we had a discussion with Ike, that's what we were telling him. We said, well, what we need is somebody who can stand alone up there. And he said, well, I sat at the cafeteria table by myself in school, and I'm used to standing alone.
So we really were hopeful because he would be that person and the rest would kind of fall in line, right? Because it is hard to be the lead on that. And he didn't make it. So who that lead is,
it's got to be Lori Rook.
Well,
it could be. We'll see. And I mean, Jim Avery is the one that's probably the strongest place for it, but he's got to rise to the occasion.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's some of the expectation, and we really don't know as much about Avery because he doesn't have an opponent through the primary. So we'll see. But I know a lot of people that know Jim Avery think he's going to be that fighter. I hope so. I mean, I don't know him well enough.
We don't know. So Avery and Rook, if they get oriented and get their feet on the ground, and Jim's been up there, so he knows already more how to expect. And I think Lori can work well under pressure. Obviously, you're not going to be a lawyer and run nine law firms if you don't have your act together.
Right. I'm going to try and get Jim Avery on. I interviewed him when I was at the radio station, and then we did a live event when he had his kickoff campaign. Seemed very genuine to me.
Yeah. We met him up at the Capitol.
What was your take on Jim Avery?
I really liked him when I met him, but again, we've kind of gotten to where we're more jaded than probably most people.
Yeah, me
so
too.
we take the let's see what you do versus what you say. And
that's why we just couldn't endorse. I'm like, what's going to happen. I mean, the odds of us having to call out somebody we endorsed is pretty high.
Yeah, you also have to be careful in certain areas. Your endorsement hurts. I was aware of that too. I'm like, there's some places if I endorse it's going to hurt them. I'm not going to do that. Let's bring in Rick Bratton. He was the big winner. Let's get a little piece of Rick Bratton. I wanted to ask Nicole. I forgot to ask him. I thought Bratton was the one that almost sabotaged him on the electric bill. I wonder how they reconciled, and his endorsement kind of took me back. I'm like, I thought he was the one that kind of, because he was that was the property tax assessment situation, if we remember the bill, and it was Nicola's bill. Then he gets cut out at the knees. Doesn't help his district, which is what he was trying to do, and then the other people win and he loses. And one of the people that was spearheading that, as I understand it, you guys can tell me if I'm wrong.
That was our understanding, that it was Rick Bratton that was cutting that deal that cut Jackson County out of that bill, so they couldn't see the reduction or freeze in their property tax. So
What do you make of that? I should ask him. I'll get him back on. I'll just send him.
You
a
know,
text.
I think Joe's a strong Christian.
Oh.
And he probably, even though he was mad, he set that aside and took the higher road. He's probably a stronger man than me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I wonder
I
if
would've-
there's some evil genius to, and I mean that jokingly, some kind of genius to Rick Bratton, because Rick Bratton's going off to Washington, D.C. He's obviously very tied into.
Not yet. He's got to.
Well, he's going to win.
Yeah.
He'll win because Donald Trump will support him in Missouri, and that'll be the end of that. In my opinion, I think that's the way.
We'll
That's
see. Yeah.
what's he got? Emmanuel Cleaver,
Manuel Cleaver.
and a lot of people think that he's got a chance. What do you think? What's your gut?
I need to look at the votes, but early on, it looked like Manuel Cleaver might have gotten more votes than all the Republicans in that district last night.
Oh,
So
really?
it's going to be. I think it's going to be a bigger fight than people think. I guess for one thing, I think that they've stirred up the Democrats with redistricting that district anyway, and I think you've got everyday Democrats that will go break down walls to go vote against Bratton. So
Very interesting. All right,
Yeah,
let's
it's
hear.
going to be a tough race. Probably a very tough race.
Yeah, if somebody told me that last night, I'm like, I don't know with Donald Trump's endorsement, but again, what do I know? All right, let's get to a little bit of Rick Bratton last night and his victory speech. Again, endorsed. We had Burks on. We had Brad Patty on. So there were some good people that were running down there. And I said yesterday, as soon as Donald Trump gave the endorsement to Rick Bratton, that's all she wrote. And, that one will be a done deal. And that's exactly how it played out. I don't know if it was close prior, but I think that's all it took was the endorsement to, if it was a close race, that was the separation. All right, here he is. Here's Rick Bratton. Check this out.
Well, first, I just want to thank each and every one here because you all have been so amazing and supporting myself, my family, through this whole arduous process of a congressional campaign. Most of all, my amazing wife. Get up here. My kids. My granddaughter had to go home, and she's not able to be here. My oldest daughter took her home. But I want to thank my kids that have been along in the political journey their whole life. Thank you for sacrificing a normal childhood, for knocking doors, doing parades, and everything that goes with the political campaign. Thank you. Yeah, give my kids Where's my kids? Come on. I want my family up here. My mom and dad, my sisters, my whole family, you guys, well, yeah, mom and dad, I wouldn't be here without you, right? But I especially would not be here without you, your support, your love. Yeah, come on. I know this is probably an unorthodox strategy. This is I want to thank my political team, my chief of staff, Tom Estes. We have my other assistant, Nick Scott. This is my office team, but they've taken off and they've been helping in this congressional run. James Harris, who's been the brainchild behind the congressional campaign. Without the operations of a political team, you'd be lost. But again, I just want to thank every one of you, because this is about saving America. This is about saving our republic. And you guys understand the severity and the reality of the times in which we live. We've got to, if we want something different, we have to send something different. We've had feckless leadership that has made a disgrace of America and has ostracized and made America out to be this terrible place. We're the most amazing nation on the face of this planet. We have a president that has literally taken a bullet for this nation. I am honored to have his endorsement, but he has a vision and is willing to fight and press and to protect liberty and freedom in the American way. And that's why I've decided to run, and that's why God has blessed us for this very moment, this very time. Here we are. This is not a time to pause and to give in and to kick our feet up, folks. This is when we push on the gas and we continue on to protect this amazing nation. These little kids and my granddaughter and your grandchildren depend on us being fighters for liberty. I just want to thank you. I don't want to be up here forever and ever.
All right, me neither. What do you think of Rick Bratton? What's your guys' take on Rick Bratton?
That's
I-
a
I-
hard.
I-
That's a hard one for us because we
I've
can't.
been very
like,
critical of him and his chief of staff, and I think he's popular in his district. So for whatever reason, those people are gravitating towards him. What's your take on him?
We know Rick very well because he's in our district. We worked very hard to get him reelected last time, and we regret it every day since.
Really?
He's from the utility bill was the first bill that we came to odds with him on. He would not hear anything against it, and we could tell he really didn't know what he was getting into on that bill. But it was clear that he decided when he got reelected that we thought he would be the guy that would step up and fill Eigel's shoes. We honestly did going in, and instead he bowed down to the leadership and decided that he wanted to move up in the party, and that was the way he was going to do it, and he was going to carry their water. And you saw the utility bill, and then you saw the stadium bill where that got
he was going to vote against it the day before. He put on social media.
Well, they'd all agreed to, and they
Freedom Caucus agreed. Yeah,
and they threw him out over that, and then this last session. Once he decided he was going to seek this office, he just checked out. I mean, he showed up to get his stipend, but he missed over a third of his votes this session. He was in the building. He just didn't bother to come down and cast his vote. So there's so many ways I've lost respect for the man. I really thought the best thing for him would have been to lose, to get, reevaluate what was important to him. I want to think that I didn't misjudge him, but maybe I misjudged him from the very beginning because, like I said, we spent so much time and effort to get him reelected, and really felt like we didn't know the man that we elected once he got in.
This is the question I have for you guys because it's just all Missouri politics today, the day after the primaries, and then I get into a lot of different subjects, but I want to stay on this one. Is it wiser? Because there are people, and I won't say their names because, again, I don't want to hurt them, but there are people that I think that I've had long conversations with, that I am friendly with, that I believe I understand where they're coming from, maybe the way you feel about Rick Bratton. And then I watch what they do, and it's at odds with what they tell me, and they're so sincere when they tell me, and I spend a lot of time with them, and I believe that it appears they're talking from the heart. And then they go down to Jefferson City and they play the game and they do things different and they align with people I wouldn't align myself with, and they say things and do things that I'm like, what in the world? Is it just that they have to play the game to get into a position of power? Maybe it's one of these deals where it's kind of like the Donald Trump method. Everything he does makes no sense, and you're screaming and yelling, going, "You told us you were going to do this, and then you did that," and you do it over and over again. Because there's a political ends to this that you need some position of power to get things done, or is it just fraud from the get-go? I can't I'm not in that system, so I don't know, but it certainly appears that there are people that are gaming the system. Is it for good or is it for personal growth? I can't tell.
I know with Rick, I saw the signs coming after he won the primary to get reelected to the state Senate. Rex Singfield dropped $75,000 into his campaign. After the general election, we had an event that for Denny Hoskins, and I got to talk to Rick there, just chatting, and I was asking him, so are you ready for this fight? And he said, well, Cindy's really changed, and she's going to be different, and the leadership's going to be different. And I was like, we might have a problem here. And and then he got, because I think probably because of the support for Singfield, he got appointed to the education chair, which is a powerful position there. And it just kind of, you saw the writing on the wall, and that's kind of where he went. And I think you take somebody like Bryant Wolfen or Mike Moon, I think they're trying to buck the system and show, hey, you can be successful by being there for the people and not getting the money. But it's harder to do what they do than it is to get along and get pushed through I think that's what happens with people like Bratton.
Yeah. I don't think it started out that way, because I believe early on when he started, he said he did not want to make this a career. And I think I think we have to do a better job of, once they're in for so long, they got to go. Because once there's a point, I don't know where that range is, but I think, and it makes sense, right? If you've invested 12 years, 15 years, are you going to switch careers? Or are you going to be like, no, I'm just going to go in for the next office?
And some people revel in the, hey, our state senator's here, let's all give it a round of applause.
Right.
They get in. There is an actual bubble that gets put around them, and you lose perspective, and that goes to what Amy's saying. That's up to us to bust that bubble, and
we had that's really local to our community. So when we had that utility bill and he did that utility vote, when we called him out, we had people in our own community say we were wrong. Rick is right, you are wrong. And we're like, oh, okay, well, how are you call him that? Stadium bill came up again. We call him out. We're wrong. Rick is right. And so we have this huge pro-Rick, anti-Rick division in our community that has become so nasty that it has infiltrated the Republican women. It has infiltrated the We the People group. It has infiltrated one of the churches. I mean, that's it. You're either with him or you're against him, and burn in hell if you're against him.
And Rick does have that attitude. In fact, our Johnson County We the People group, they will kick out anybody that says anything negatively about.
Got kicked out because
including our former sheriff that crossed the line just one time on Rick Bratton, and they said, "Well, you're really not a conservative. You don't really belong here in this group, and we don't think you should be here no more."
Really?
Really?
I question it because the We the People group changed their social media policy. And what was the word they used? You cannot badger the politicians. And I said, okay, I understand there's no rule. Please define badger. They said, we've already stated a statement, and, this is an unnecessary question. But basically, that's it. That was my violation. I asked for a definition to clarify the rule. And I said, is asking a question about a politician's vote, is that considered badgering? And I got removed from the group because of that.
Troublemaker.
But they allowed badgering on anybody else. It was just Rick Bratton. And so we renamed the We the People of Johnson County. It's the Rick Bratton Fan Club, and they meet once a month.
They do like him. They do. Say what you want. They like the guy.
They love him, and it's just
cordial to us. They were cordial to us. I've been, I've gotten after Tom Estes as chief of staff. I've been very critical of Rick Bratton. I tried to reach out for them for comment on both of those bills, the QUIP bill and the stadium bill, and no response. Wow. Well, that's interesting. I mean, we have that was when I was on the radio. We got a lot of people paying attention to what the grassroots are saying, got a lot of attention to the show. And neither him or Adam Schnelting were willing to come on. And then Adam Schnelting, subsequent to that, I think has fallen out of favor with many of the grassroots. Same with Rick Bratton. Yeah. And I guess it's not hurting them. So, from their standpoint.
Yeah, well, they continue to get
right. They're moving up the ladder.
So.
Again, but for people that are supporting him, I mean, look at his voting record. So just because he says conservative things and he may have conservative values, what he's saying and what he did, they don't match. That's a problem. So even if you like the guy,
they don't care. Look at Trump. Yeah. I did a show. I don't know if you guys got to see it. I did a show where I listed 17 things that Donald Trump said that he did the exact opposite. 17 things. He looked right into that camera I went to the rallies and watched every single one of them in 2016. So I know I could write a book about Donald Trump. And I said, I was talking to Isaiah. I said, maybe we should just do a show, compare and contrast what he said versus what he did. And I laid out 17 different bullet points where this is what Donald Trump said when he was running for president, and here's where he is at right now. And they're complete polar opposites, 17 of them. And even Isaiah was like, man, how many do you have? I said, I could do more. I said, but this will get the point across. It doesn't matter. If Donald Trump does the exact opposite of everything he says, there is this understanding, this is like a freakish, mystical understanding that he's doing it for our own good. And he might be. I'm not saying that he's not. But do people vote on the way they feel, or is there any evidence that you need in order to make a decision? Because right now, I guess we're going to go by feel. There's going to be no evidence that these things are happening. It's just going to be, this is my gut feeling on things. And I kind of feel that way about Rick Bratton, because who's he tying himself to?
Yep.
Donald Trump.
Or is it the
and,
fact
and you,
that
and you saw during the video we just watched, they set it up. The first time I saw that, I was thinking they're really just following the Trump guideline.
Right.
Get to people saying USA, USA
Right.
a couple
Bring the
times.
family up,
It was
the
just
all
really
American family.
yeah.
Yep, exactly. Same gig. Yeah.
or
Same
part of me
message.
wonders, when you hear the right language, like, Trump says I'm gonna do this, this, and this, and then I think people just check out.
Well,
Rick says the right things. And so you just
when you say something and you're vague enough, but it hits a chord with somebody else, they fill in the blanks for what they think you actually mean. Where you don't, so a lot of times they don't actually say it, but they say just enough to trigger it in people's minds.
Psychologically,
that's what they mean. I understand, and then
it's a great sales job.
Yeah.
It's working. I mean, it is what it is. So if you're,
Yeah,
if you're a
working
fan,
great.
it works. Let me read this from Old Dude One. He says, politicians are a reflection of the people. They operate the way they do because they're caught in between largely unaware populace and the people who want to dominate society.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. And the one thing I would say that I wish I knew that. I think that, but the reason I don't know that is because I don't know that the elections are the will of the people anymore. And when you have both parties telling you elections are being manipulated, and not manipulated everywhere, just in the positions where power could change hands, power is not changing hands anywhere. Power is remaining the same. Even when you get certain people on the Titanic, the boat is still sinking. People don't see that because they'll say, well, Lori Rook won. See, one of your candidates, David Robertson won. See there. Well, let's see if David Robertson or Lori Rook or the totality of the Republican Party can actually institute policies that, adhere to the Republican Party platform and conservative values. We'll see. I think it's going to be Missouri Inc. I think nothing will change in the big scheme of things other than more awareness. That's why I said, to David Robertson, when I talked to him privately, we just need people to go in there and tell us what they're seeing, be outspoken. Let's have 10 Mike Moons in Jefferson City. Let's have 10 Bryant Wolfens. When we have that, then all of a sudden you're going to bring more and more awareness to people that are attracted to articulate members of the General Assembly. Right now, you've got so few that it gets drowned out. And because you're the minority in a big way, you end up looking like the crazy people, the Dr. No and the Mr. No, which they call Brian Thomas Wolfen. And, they come after, Mike Moon's son died.
Mm-hmm.
That's another one. It was kind of bizarre. Nobody really talked about that. All of a sudden, his boat's out in the middle of, where was he, Virginia or something?
Yeah, catches fire at like 5 a.m. Yeah, burns.
That's the one person that's, I don't want to start conspiracy theories, but the one person that's standing up against the power structure in the state of Missouri, his son just mysteriously dies out on a boat in Virginia.
Yeah.
I don't
know. There's some sneaky Sneakerton stuff going on.
It's weird. Let's put it that way. Then you had the if I'm gonna get the conspiracies going, I'm not going to make mention, but then you have the Secretary of State's chief of staff also die in a very strange situation as well. He committed suicide apparently, but these are people that he says he wants to get rid of the machines. They take his money away. He doesn't get anything done on that front, and then his chief of staff dies, and then you have Mike Moon who's speaking out against the authority in the state of Missouri, and his son dies in a very strange situation out in Virginia that you can never prove. I mean, it's just tidbits of information. Do what you want with it. All right, let me get a little advertising in here. If you guys want to take a break for just a minute,
sure.
I'll do some advertising.
Jump off real quick, and I'll be right back on.
You got it. I'll let you guys take a break for just a second. When we come back, I want to just look at the people, Amy, that were in favor of A5.
Okay.
So that we kind of just draw the lines here of what the people that were pushing A5 and how popular they are within the Republican Party, despite the fact that A5 goes down, 83-17? Is that what it was?
Yeah, it was. I don't know the specific numbers, but about that margin, yeah. 80.
All right. Let me do this real quick, and then I want to talk about that for a minute. Rat Custom Coatings. This is my good friend, Rich McQuay. If you are somebody who is in need of new flooring, whether it be in your garage, your basement, maybe you're somebody who determines industrial space flooring, schools, any kind of retail space, epoxy flooring is the way to go. Most people don't even pay attention to it, but it's less expensive. They can do design with it. It looks absolutely fantastic. Let me do this. Let's see if we can do... Actually, it won't matter. Nah, I'll leave it as is. Oh, here we go. I'll do it this way. All right, let's do that. So Rat Custom Coatings. This is Rich McQuay. Again, locally owned and operated since 2001. If you have any kind of flooring that you need to be replaced, any kind of mine is the garage. We talk about it all the time, and I want to give a shout out for him because these garage flooring ideas are something that you should pay attention to. If you are somebody who uses that man cave out in the garage, and there's lots of them because all my friends seem to have this garage where they hold Sunday football gatherings and all kinds of different things on the weekends. Think about epoxy flooring and our good friend Rich McQuay. You will not regret it. It is such a value to your home. I cannot talk about it enough. When you want to sell your home and somebody comes in and sees really crystal clean flooring with a little artsy flair to it on your garage floor, very inexpensive and changes the entire complexion of your home. Wonderful. RACCustomCoatings.com, RAK customcoatings.com. You can reach them at 636 398 5040. 636 398 5040. RAK, RAK, customcoatings.com. And then we have Valvoline Express Care. When it's time for an oil change, it's always Valvoline Express Care. 15 minutes from Beta on your way. No appointments, no sales pressure, all Valvoline branded products. Valvoline Express Care. If you need coupons, just go to Valvoline-expresscare.com. Valvoline-expresscare.com. Get yourself a coupon. Take some money off your next oil change. They have locations. This is Tony Clark's locations that we want you to use. Highland, Illinois, Warrenton, Missouri, Cape Girardeau, Missouri, St. Peters Parkway, Mid Rivers Mall Drive, Troy, Illinois, and Lee Ferry Road. Valvoline Express Care, 15 minutes from Beta on your way. If I don't see that sticker in your window, very difficult for us to be friends. And then we got RocketCareers.com, nationwide business, small to medium-sized businesses, don't have a human resources department, got to find good talent for your business. RocketCareers.com, ROCKIT Careers.com. You can reach them at 636-778-2419. It's my good friend Mitch. Been friends with him since high school. I know what a good dude he is. Brian, his partner, they've been at this for a long time. They know how to get the job done. If you're out of work, hate your job, easy call to make. Out of work, hate your job, can't find the right job to satisfy you in life, give these guys a call. Nationwide network. They'll find the right job for you. They'll teach you how to get that job through resume building, through your elevator pitch. Just they put you in a position to change your life. Out of work, hate your job, always RocketCareers.com. ROCKIT Careers.com. 636-778-2419. And then last one, GraceHauling.com, GraceHauling.com, GraceHauling.com. Outstanding customer service, old school business, outstanding customer service, competitive pricing. Whether you are a commercial customer or a residential customer, it doesn't matter. The reason you see Grace hauling trucks, cans, and dumpsters all over St. Charles County is because people have made their choice. They like doing business with Gary Schneider. If you're a residential customer, trash, recyclables, bulk pickups, doesn't matter. Check out GraceHauling.com, GraceHauling.com, GraceHauling.com. All right, let's bring everybody back here. Let me see if I can get the picture up.
I'm back.
There she is. All right, let's go through this a little bit because I wanted to pick your brain about it just a little bit since we're talking about Missouri politics today. These are the people that were behind A5, and I think this is why the Republican Party might ultimately be in trouble. Because the Republican Party, the establishment Republican Party, pretty much across the board was for A5. So if you have all of your major players from Denny Hoskins to Fitzpatrick to Governor Kehoe, Eric Schmidt, Josh Hawley, Freedom Principle was big. They were all over social media. When you have these people pushing hard for A5 and then the voters jam it right back up in there, if you understand what I'm saying, to an 80-20 loss, that tells me that there's not a lot of confidence in what the Republican Party is selling. So let's just go through this. We went through it yesterday. You tell me.
I got that up there if you want to put it up there.
You have it? Let's put this up.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do this. Thank you. You read my mind. All right.
There we go.
I got so many people commenting. I got to get rid of this comment for just a second.
I know. Sometimes the comments come in really fast.
I do. When you start paying attention to, that's what I say. He goes, if you just pay attention to the comments, I go, I can't see them. I'm talking and I'm looking somewhere else.
I know.
But if I do, then people get engaged, and I apologize to the audience. I am going to get better. I promise. There's a lot of things I need to get better at. That's one of them. All right. So let's look at this. In favor of A5. So this was Governor Kehoe's baby. As Isaiah put out, he said, this really comes from Rex Sinkfield. Rex has been pushing for the elimination of the Missouri income tax for quite some time. If you look at ALEC, which is this legislative body where these people come in, it's business aligning with the I would say the brass within the Republican Party right now, and they make
model legislation. Yep.
Model legislation. So they come in and they say, you know what, this would be really great if you got rid of this, you did this, this would be good for our business. By the way, the last one, as I remember it, Rex Sinkfield's daughter was involved in it. So you kind of see where it's going, and that is no reflection on Rex. I don't know Rex. I think Rex is probably doing what is best for him and his family and his business. And that's what you do when you have money. You try to shape politics. If we had $1 billion, we'd be shaping politics a little bit differently. So I'm not mad at him. I get upset when politicians, in my understanding of what's happening here, is when these politicians do it simply to appease Mr. Sinkfield. That's what bothers me. If your heart is in this and this is what you think is right for you and you think this is right for the state of Missouri and this is something you fought for and you got money from Rex, fine, right? But if you really aren't for it, but this is the guy that butters the bread and therefore you're going to go out and push it because you're a little puppet for Rex, that irritates me because at that point you're not working for the people. So Governor Kehoe is behind this. Donald Trump Jr. and Laura Trump, remember that? They came out and started talking. They had Mike Kehoe on all their programs. They were pushing A5. So you have the Trumps involved. You have Mike Kehoe involved. The money behind the scenes appears to be coming from, we don't know this, but it appears to be coming from, big money in the state of Missouri. Then you have Senator Josh Hawley come out in favor of it. Eric Schmidt, very popular senator, Eric Schmidt. Both Josh Hawley and Eric Schmidt are very popular. They're for it. I don't know much about Congressman Alford. He's got the look of a politician. He's got the swagger of a politician. What do you guys know about Mark Alford? He
was our congressman until they redistricted.
What's your take on him? Very polished.
I'm not real fond of him. No? I think he is your typical politician. I wouldn't.
Well, he was a TV show anchor.
Oh, okay.
News anchor. That's why you see the polished look.
He is very polished. I'll give him that. But yeah, I wouldn't trust him as far as I could throw him.
That is so funny. So he was a TV anchor. What did he do? News?
Mm-hmm.
I think he was weather, wasn't he?
No, just news.
Was he just news in Kansas City?
Yeah, Kansas City 41 or
TV
something.
Station there for quite a while.
I was watching his social media posts and stuff that he was putting out there, and I'm like, man, this guy.
That's why he's so polished.
Yeah, he's like a professional. I'm like, holy cow.
He is. Yeah, okay. He was. For many years, yeah.
All right, and then you have Congressman Burleson. There are things I like about Burleson, and there are things that I disagree with him on, but he seems approachable. I mean, we're going to find him in Washington, D.C. We'll drag him out and get some questions asked of him the next time we go there. What's your take on Congressman Burleson? And the reason I ask is because he's falling in line with what I would call the Republican establishment, the big-time Republican authority in the state of Missouri, and he's on that list.
I kind of, as I look back over the last few years, I kind of see that he was the one that maybe led the way, because when he was in the state house and Senate, him and Onder and Rick Bratton and Denny Hoskins were all pretty close alignment together. And then you saw Burleson lead the way to the Congress. Then you saw Onder go to Congress. And I think that's what you're seeing with Bratton, is that they kind of showing the path and helping lead the path for those guys up there. There's so little that they can do in the House. I think unless you're willing to be a strong voice like Thomas Massey is, a lot of these guys too, you really can't listen to what they say. You got to look at their votes. And, Marjorie Taylor Greene did a great video a week or so ago pointing out how they vote preliminary might be more important to show you where they really are. And you really have to look at all those things. And again, we just don't spend enough time looking at the Capitol to be able to get a good read on where those things are.
He ran through Missouri politics, though, didn't he? Didn't Burleson run through Missouri politics?
Yeah, he did. He ran through. He was pretty popular here when he was here. Of course, he
seems likable. What was it? I mean, how did he vote? Was he somebody that when you watched?
I don't know if we were around. I think that might be.
I think we'd have to pull in Lisa Panett and some of them that were watching it closely before. when he was still running through the House and Senate here.
Trying to get him on, by the way.
Yeah.
What about Onder? Because Onder, I went and saw him when we were in D.C. We did get a chance to walk around and talk to Bob Onder. He's a very affable guy. Seems like a very lovely man. He's a admitted Zionist. We went and talked to him. I have disagreements with him there. And not disagreements in that he's a Zionist in some of the policies that are coming out. I wanted to talk to him about him. I just didn't have time, but I will when I go back. What is your take on Bob Onder? Because again, I kind of think of Bob Onder as somebody who kind of plays both sides of this very well. He is very he's in line with the grassroots on many issues. He's with the establishment on some other issues. So he seems like he plays both sides very well. Right. Very skilled politician, I would say. What's your take on Congressman Bob Onder? Is he somebody that you have a lot of confidence in?
I don't, but I think what you're saying is pretty accurate from what I've seen from him, is that he is pretty good at playing both sides. And again, I wish I could give you more information about how he votes up there, because that would tell me I could give you a better answer, but it's just
he seems to vote wherever Trump is voting.
Yeah, and I definitely think that he's definitely a Trump booster for sure, and that gets you a long ways. I mean, you see what happens if you go against Trump on even a couple of votes. What?
Yeah,
I'm
brutal.
changing my entire show to the pro-Trump show, and I think
Right.
All right, so Ander, what's your take, Amy, on Ander? You know him well, don't you?
I don't know him that well. I only know him through like kind of the connection, and I've kind of seen this connection. We got, Alfred up there, and then Onder, and now we're seeing, Bratton. And I know Denny Hoskins took a lot of trips up to Washington, D.C. He's highly connected to Onder. So those connections are there with those. So I guess they're making a lineage from Missouri to Washington, D.C.
Right. That's what I'm noticing too. Interesting.
Yeah, definitely happening.
Now, who is this Steldon Posey? I was looking at him on social media. Is this somebody that writes? Steldon, I recognize your name. It almost seems like we might have had a conversation in the past.
I know he's active on social media and does some writing, and yeah, we enjoy his comments.
I do too. I thought he was right on the button. So Steldon Posey, just let us know who you are, brother. If I'm missing it for some reason, I have no disrespect whatsoever. But he says, as someone formerly from Burleson's district, I saw his support for A5, which was going to hurt Branson's tourist economy, become the last straw for a lot of folks. So he thinks that A5, that this is the whole point of this conversation. Steldon is so sharp. A5, I think, is going to be wrapped around the neck of Republicans for the next election, because if you come out and favor something that 8 out of 10 people are against, and I'm the Democrats, I'm gonna be pushing that pretty hard. When 8 out of 10 people in your state vote against a major initiative that you supported openly, as a political person, you could put a lot of commercials together that would show people supporting something that went down 80-20. 80-20 is an ass kicking. 80-20 is you guys are out of your mind kind of vote.
Well, completely.
I've never seen an 80-20 vote, to be honest with you. Do you guys give any 80-20, 83, 17 votes?
I mean, that's when you are just so far out of touch with constituents that it's
not good. It's not good. So Onder, I think we're all on the same page there. I don't know the state treasurer, Malik. I met him one time. My recollection of the meeting was somebody introduced me to him, and as soon as he recognized my name, he wanted to get away from me. That's what I recognized. So he was like, nicey nice. We're talking. And she goes, oh, Rob, have you met, this is Rob Carter. Do you know Rob Carter? And he goes, oh, he smiled, this and that and the other. And then see you later, alligator. He got away from me pretty quick. So I don't know what that means necessarily. I could have not had my cologne on that day, but it seemed to me like he didn't want to get into a deep conversation. He went up against Lori Rook last time and beat her for the treasurer's race. He seems like a very nice man, just watching his movements and so forth. Any understanding of this guy? Have you guys had any conversations with him or about him to know what he's all about?
I haven't.
We've had a couple because we helped do a couple of Lincoln Days, my husband and I. So we have talked with Malik. He is a very nice guy. But I think with state treasurer, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, but haven't we had an appointed treasurer for a very long time, which is why Lori decided to run?
That was part of it, and part of it was Lori had some things and I agreed with her. There's a lot of stuff that the treasurer should be making public for people to easily be able to see and find. That isn't happening, and that was one of the things Lori wanted to change at the treasurer's office, was to make it more transparent. And I know there's been I mean, we've heard it on the Missouri Senate floor, some conversations about these education funds that the treasurer's in charge of for what is it? Do you remember the name of that program?
MoEd, is it
MoEd, something like that? It's vouchers kind of program where they were saying that he wasn't being very transparent. He's the one that ended up being in charge of those funds, and it's kind of one of those deals where it was originally going to be businesses funding it or outside donations funding it, and then parents could use it to send their kids to private schools and whatnot. And now it's getting funded by the state. So
shocker.
Yeah.
So I look at this. I'm going to go through the rest of them here. The reason I want to put this up is I want to clip this for myself. I believe, you and I, Mike, and Amy, I think you're on the same page, but I'm not sure. I know Mike and I are. I think Missouri Inc. is now a business. I don't think it's a government the way we perceive it to be a government. I think it's a business. I think that's why Bryant Wolfen said, the best thing we can do out here is stop legislation. We talked about that earlier. That was he won, by saying, there's nothing good coming out of here. This is business interest. He didn't say that, but he implied it. Business interest, that's where everything is at. And if you're a Koch person, if you're an Americans for Prosperity, they see the Republican Party as big corporate wealth. Let's drive big corporations into the state of Missouri. Let's turn everything into people working cubicles, and they have a nice salary till they're about 45, and then they're making too much money, and then they're out of work, and then they can't find a job for the rest of their lives. They like this corporate world. I don't like it. I worked in it. I think it sucks. I recommend that nobody stick around in the corporate world any longer than they have to. Get out before they take you out, because when you start making too much money in a big corporation, your days are numbered. Trust me when I tell you. And I've seen it happen to too many friends of mine, so I just know this to be a fact. Be careful of growing Missouri, because I was going to grow Missouri. I'm like, well, if I bring in Amazon into Missouri, and I bring Meta into Missouri, and I bring all of these big corporations into Missouri, if I bring Bill Gates into Missouri, if I bring Chinese industry into Missouri, if I bring all these industries into Missouri.
And that's what they mean when they say grow Missouri.
It is. That's what I'm saying. And I don't think many Republicans recognize that. My buddies don't recognize that.
That's right. A lot of just your citizens, Republican citizens, they hear growth and they think, oh, more neighbors and more people. I'm like, no, they're bringing in big money.
Big money. Big money, and they're soliciting big money into the state of Missouri. We have a lot of land and we have a lot of resource. All right, Fitzpatrick beats our friend Gerald Wistrand. I love Gerald. I did not think that was I thought that was going to be a real tough race for Gerald. I love him, but Auditor Fitzpatrick wins again. I think he's an appealing guy. He played both issues on A5, or both sides of the issue on A5 as well.
He sure did.
And I thought, well, that's very interesting. When I saw that he was coming out in favorite, I'm like, well, weren't you the one that I'm playing the clips of on my show?
But he's in an impossible spot. I mean, he's in an impossible spot. I mean, how is he going to? He holds a state office. His loyalty or alliance is with the governor.
Yep.
This is the governor's agenda. Even if he's seeing data that contradicts it, I mean,
I know that's what they're thinking, but if a campaign's run right, all of these statewide guys that jumped on A5 could be in trouble next time.
They could be, but and I'm sure they're having the same discussion. The people on this list are having this similar discussion, right? It's strategy. I
just think that the people going up against them. Yeah, I look at it like this. I started the show by saying this. If it were right now today, unless something changes, I think what you have is a strict split in the Republican Party. I think people are starting to see that now with A4 and A5. That becomes very obvious. So if you have a split within the Republican Party where people are saying, you know what, I'm not going to go out and vote for whoever, any of these people, I don't want to mention any, but I'm not going to vote for them because I don't trust them anymore, and they just don't vote. Well, the Democrats are definitely going to come out and vote against Donald Trump. They've been showing that for since he's been in the public eye. If you have a big turnout from the Democrats, I talked to Jeff Jacks yesterday. Jeff Jacks down in St. Louis County. That's about a 55-45 Democrat to Republican. And he sides with most of the issues that the Democrat sides with in that representing that district. I think he said it was 4,200 people came out for the Democrat and 12 for the Republicans, 1,200, 4,200 to 1,200 in a 55-45 area. I think that is indicative of where things are going. That is
very dangerous.
Unbelievable numbers. And he was a hard worker. He's a little bit like Dave Robertson. He was knocking on doors. He's out there 68, 69 years old, 100-degree weather, working his ass off, and gets 1,200 people to go vote, but 4,200 for the Democrats in a 55-45 district. At least that's the way he described it to me. So that might tell you where if you're reading the tea leaves, that might give you an understanding where people are at right now. And then you got Secretary of State Denny Hoskins. So last night he did a press conference where he was talking about it was on the redistricting. So they got all these signatures and he said they're unconstitutional. That didn't sit well with me. And again, I like Denny Hoskins. I'm a fan of Denny Hoskins. I endorse Denny Hoskins, disagree with him on certain things, but he's always been a gentleman and willing to speak to us. How does the Secretary of State determine what is constitutional or not? Do you guys understand that? Did you watch that video last night?
Yeah, we did. We played it.
What was your take on that?
Yeah, I think this is exactly what I expected was going to happen with that, though. I figured that he wasn't going to address the signatures, but it was going to be, let's play out our legal options. Let's try to push it past November.
Yep.
And I think that's what we saw. I mean,
isn't that taking the voice? This is exactly what I think Republicans stand for. I come from the Ronald Reagan days of Republicans, so that's still that sweet spot in my mind. But if the people come out and they get the signatures, you say, these are the rules. These people, I could disagree with them. I'm not saying that I agree with the people that did this, but I'm just saying they went out and they got the signatures. They did what they said they were going to do. And then Denny Hoskins stops it because he, as Secretary of State, says it's not constitutional. I'm like, well, when did you become the Attorney General of Missouri?
Well, he's the messenger. So the Attorney General did.
Agreed.
So he's saying, I have been told that this is unconstitutional.
But
And
doesn't that really
therefore,
work if they get the signatures? That's why I'm asking you for. I could be wrong. I'm just saying that's my.
what was
impression.
that part? That what if they get the
If they
signatures?
get the signatures, doesn't it? Then don't the courts have to make a decision? Why does it?
Well,
why
and
does Denny
the
Hoskins
court,
become
the courts will. I think the gamble. I think what the governor and all of the statewide decided was this is their best method to fight this off. Because I mean, I think it's clear they probably got the signatures because they got a couple 100,000 more than they needed, and even if there is some duplicates, I think you're probably likely that they got the signatures.
Right.
And so now they don't want that to go on because they want this redistricting because Trump wants this redistricting, right? And if they can push it off past November, then even if they lose in court, it doesn't take effect until 2028. So
Gotcha. So it's just political wrangling. And that's why I said I don't know if that sits well. I think these are the things, and the reason I'm bringing this up, just want people to understand why we're going through the list here. These are the things that I think motivate the other side. It doesn't do our side any good. It does politically, right? If you're just a Republican establishment person and you want to keep that district 7-1, I get it. I understand the political maneuvering. But the Democrats are going to use this. They're going to say, listen, even when we get the signatures, they bypass it. They're not paying attention to the people. They tried to take our with Amendment 4, they tried to take our voice away again. I think that is going to be the message coming out of the left, and I think it's going to be dangerous with the
Republican Party. Doesn't even that spreads beyond the left because there are people in the middle that don't pay attention. That when they hear that, they say that's wrong. I mean, that's just they feel it's wrong. And yeah, I think a lot of things the Republicans have done, while they might have been stopping some stuff that we didn't like, it's still if you're doing it the wrong way, it's you're still opening yourself up to this. So
that's how I see it. And then you got so let's move on. So Denny Hoskins is Secretary of State. So if he is for A5, I don't know that means all that much. State Attorney General Catherine Hanaway. Did you know that she was backed by Sinkfield as well? I looked at it the other day. I did not know that. So she was handpicked by Governor Kehoe, who I think was supported pretty heavily by Rex, and then he picks as his Attorney General Catherine Hanaway, who was at the complete odds, if you remember, with Andrew Bailey over what was it, the Green Belt Express, or whatever it was.
Green Belt Express.
So you got former Attorney General Bailey, who is fighting in court against Catherine Hanaway. And
she was the attorney for the other side.
Bring in Catherine Hanaway. What a world. Okay. Missouri Freedom Caucus. Again, I think that's where the money's coming from for the Missouri Freedom Caucus. Do we agree with that? I think Rex might have his hand on the
but that goes to Tim Jones. So Tim Jones is the state
runs
director
through Tim Jones, right? Yep.
Of the Freedom Caucus, right?
Yep. Missouri Republican Party, obviously Freedom Principle, Byron's operation. They were very heavily in favor of A4 and A5. I wonder what they think today. Because man, did they put a lot of energy into this?
Yeah, I haven't looked, but they were putting out so many posts. I haven't seen any this morning though.
I haven't seen anything, and it's going to be so. I'm going to tell you what they're going to claim because they have their 82 alliance. Well, he picked a lot of seats that didn't have any kind of contempt.
They won all those seats.
Yeah, they won it all, and the 82 alliance is the way to go. And give us your money, and look, and now you got to hold his feet to the fire. Is he going to hold those people that got into office to the principles that they claim to have run on? Because they all signed the contract. There's a contract to the citizens of Missouri that they all had to sign. And let me tell you, I'm going to hold them to that contract.
What's the contract? I didn't know this. So this is a pledge between the people.
It's on the Freedom Principle website.
Okay.
And it's for if you were an 82 Alliance candidate, you had to sign this. And at first I was like, I don't even want to know, what is this? So I looked at it, and then I got it, and now I've got it in my mind. I'm like, okay, you get into office. All right, Amy DeClue, you get in there because I'm watching. We're watching. So you said it all. You said you're going to do it, and you think all of them that have been.
But all. I mean, so many of the people in the 82 Alliance, they also jumped on in favor of A5 because of Freedom
because Freedom Principle did, and because
now they've got baggage. Even the ones that'll end up getting in there, they're going to have baggage on them already because of that.
Yeah,
they ran with A4, strongly A4 and A5, and so because they aligned with freedom principle. I mean, that's why, these people, they tend to want to group together. And I've seen it time and time again. When you do that, it causes group think. And then you are under double pressure because you may not agree with the issue, or you just don't even think about it at all. And you just take what they tell you, and then you just start parroting it because that's, I don't know, somebody from up above has told somebody else to tell somebody else, and now it's come down to you. So these candidates were just repeating, and they said they thought about it. I hope they did.
Well, they were out selling it hard because Amy DeClue, she put out a social media post that got a lot of response to it.
Yeah.
She was using, I believe, for A4, if I'm not mistaken. Was it the A4 one?
She did. I think she did both. I think
Did she win last night? Did she have a primary last night?
She didn't have
didn't
have
have
an opponent.
Nobody against her.
Justin Bernhardt was one of the ones that he had that did have an opponent, and he did lose.
Justin lost?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mike, did you happen to find their contract, or can you
No, I haven't looked for it.
Here, from here on down, you guys, this is what I wanted to bring your attention to. So after Missouri Republican Party, so everybody down, if I just said Missouri Republican Party and then listed this underneath, I would say these are the subsidiaries of the Missouri Republican Party. Freedom Principle, Americans for Prosperity, and what's that Camellia lady? She was out all over the place pushing for Amendments 4 and Amendment 5. And you know what's interesting about her, and I just hope the people that follow, I have no problem with her. She was on the show with me. I thought she was lovely. I disagree with her. I don't know what she's up to. She might be just taking a check and actually working for Americans for Prosperity. So if they tell her that they want to make slavery legal again, she might be out pushing for slavery. I don't know. She has a job to do, as I understand it. But she kept saying, we are winning, 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 we are winning. And you lose 80-20? How do you follow somebody that's that far off?
Well, I mean, we were told by several of them on there, hey, because Amy was watching the social media very closely and seeing that, hey, the people just aren't buying this. It's 80-1, 80%
the ratios
on it. And then we got told, well, that's just because you don't understand how the algorithms work on social media, and really it's the opposite that
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So stupid. I'm so.
And I just told Amy, look, we know we're out meeting with people. We're not hearing anything different. Just don't pay any attention to that kind of claim, because it's just anything they can do to change the appearance. And they think, and that, I mean, like Camellia putting up there winning every day. She's just trying to make the appearance look like that the momentum is going their direction. And
they
knew all along
like she's just trying to convince her. I mean, I almost wanted to put on there, who are you trying to convince, us or yourself?
That's what I kept looking at. I'm like, it made me wonder. I'm sorry to cover your face up there. Lyndon Bode won over Justin Barnhart. I had Justin on the show a couple times. He seemed like a decent guy to me. I never know who they're running against, though. Sometimes if I don't get the opponent, I don't know what they're up against. So Americans for Prosperity, I think people, what did Trump call them? Americans for no prosperity?
Yeah, yep. I hope people in Missouri wake up, get rid of that organization. Stop listening to them.
A lot of money behind them. And then Alec, so didn't you guys tell me that, so the people that win now, they're going to go have a meeting here soon. We were talking about maybe going down there and asking some questions. Maybe
I'd love to be able to do that.
Isaiah may go down there. If you guys go down there, I'd like to be a part of it somehow, some way. But aren't the people that just won in the Republican Party going to have a meeting here within the next couple of weeks?
Well, it'll actually be after the November election. So
it is after November. Okay,
it's after November, and it's I think it usually happens like the week after, because there's a
meeting this week. There's a meeting this week. They're going to Branson.
I like Branson.
Yeah, I do too. Let's go hang down in the lobby.
I got to get somebody down there to Branson to see what's going on down there, just to maybe investigate, ask some questions, make nice.
So it's the.
I think this is where the come on into the party kind of thing is. This is the rah. You're a Republican now. We're wave it. We're all buddies in this thing. Don't be talking bad about. I think it's probably one of those type of operations.
I had a state rep tell me that this is the speed dating with lobbyists.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
And this is where the lobbyists get a read and they decide who's going to be hard or easy to work with.
What do you think of this ALEC organization? That's next, ALEC. Do you think many people know what goes on with ALEC?
No, I don't think they know. And again, ALEC, what they do is they bring in the big businesses and the bears and those type of things, and then they're basically bringing the legislation throughout the country, through the state houses. Everybody comes back from there with bills. I got a bill from ALEC. We hear that all the time up there.
Yeah.
But ALEC is a global. That's the global agenda.
Yeah, it
That's
is.
the way I see it. I didn't know
But
if you
it's
saw
also,
that.
I see the big corporate and the global agenda being melted together too,
Mhm.
though. So
100%. Yep, agreed, Mike. And so when I saw, I challenge anybody to go to, it's ALEC, ALEC, if you're just listening and not watching, ALEC, and look at the Missouri Republican Party members that are aligned with ALEC, and then look at what ALEC sells to their people. They have Art Laffer on the front of the ALEC thing talking about how great ALEC is. And they really sell it. It's like a 3-minute advertisement for ALEC and how wonderful it is and how it's going to change the world and this and that and the other. And I think what ALEC is more than anything, and this is just a difference of opinion, right? I don't think big corporate business is the way forward for a happy society. I think big corporate multinational corporate businesses that come into your states ultimately destroy your states. It's like taking drugs for the first time. And I know that Mike and Amy have never taken drugs, but for those of us who have partake younger in life, maybe once or
That's
twice.
why I can't run for office.
Yep, when we were kids, maybe just once or twice. The first time you take it, it's wonderful. You know, you're young. It either makes you dopey or it gives you a feeling of being happy. You know, that's usually what it does. And then all of a sudden, if you take drugs over a long period of time, it becomes an anchor around you. And I think this is what ALEC is. The big corporate world brings in, and right away you're like, oh my God, look at all these jobs, blah, blah, blah. Right. And then all of a sudden you're in a cubicle. You've got your 401k, everything's going well. And then all of a sudden they chop your knees off because all corporations do is chase down money. And everybody knows that there's no such thing as a business that never has a hiccup. And as soon as it has a hiccup, they start getting rid of people. That is the nature of corporations. That is why small business is so important, because I know small business owners that pay their employees before they pay themselves because it's like family to them and they want to make sure they keep their jobs. Completely different perspective on what a good life is. And it isn't always about the highest profit that you can make within a corporation that makes life good. So when I see ALEC, first thing I think of is big corporate money aligned with politicians that have power in all of the states. And they come in and they say, well, if you want Meta to come in, here's some legislation that we got passed in Texas. And if you just model this legislation, then Meta's going to come in and they're going to start opening up businesses around your town, or any of these big corporations are going to come in. That is the sell job for ALEC. And if you just go to their website and just look at it, these people in the Republican Party, they love ALEC. They absolutely, they love it because it's legislation they don't have to think too much about. It's already passed in another state. It helps out their big donors. It's a win-win for everybody, and in comes more corporate money. And then they sell that as growth. Does that make sense? I mean, that seems to be the process.
nailed it.
Yeah.
So if I'm looking at ALEC, I'm looking at that as a negative, not a positive, whereas the brass in the Republican Party would tell me I'm crazy. ALEC is a wonderful organization.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Turning Point was on the side of A5. I don't even know what Turning Point is anymore, absent Charlie Kirk. So I don't know what that means.
When you say Turning Point, do you mean like Turning Point,
I
Missouri?
thought that's what that is, isn't it? Turning Point. I don't know if there's two Turning Points. I assume that was Turning Point USA. They have chapters all over the country now.
I didn't know if it's just our Missouri chapter or if it was a national. Interesting.
I apologize if I got that wrong.
I just didn't see them. I didn't see anything.
I believe there was something they put out
Okay.
to put out for A5.
I could be wrong.
I'm from Branson.
Daniel Branson. All right.
Daniel Branson.
Tell us what you know, Daniel. If you know something about Branson, let me know. You means he can help do some interviews. Get a hold of us. The Robb Show with 2 B's, the Robb Show host @gmail.com. Reach out. If we vet you and you're a decent person, we need people. I had several people reach out to me in the last week saying, how can I help the organization? I thought, well, that's kind of nice. And that's what we need. We need volunteers. If you get out to Branson, you live there, and you can go in with a microphone. We'll give you the questions to ask. We don't want you causing trouble, but ask these questions, get the answers on videotape. We'll use it for the show. We'll spread the information. Daniel, get a hold of us. The Robb with 2 B's, the Robb Show host @gmail.com. And then Missouri Tax Relief Now. Who is in that organization? Is that Dennis Gonzalez?
Yes.
But it's also on the board is Tim Jones. There's some others. Ben Keithley's on that board.
That's my buddy James O'Brien too.
James O'Brien's on the board there. Yeah.
Are you guys really buddies?
Well, I'm friendly with him. We're not hanging out, but I think I don't want to get into James's, but I think James is an advocate for people that he works with. He has a business, and if the people that he's working for like ALEC, he likes ALEC. If the people that he worked for like A5, then he's going to support. That's where I think he's coming from. I could be wrong, and I don't mean to put words in his mouth.
think
That's my
I
take
think
on
that's
it.
right.
been my
I just
answer.
he's been kind of a mysterious person to me, and we've had to go back and forth online a little bit.
He does that to me too. He comes in, he just comes in and he whacks me on social media, but he's always kind about it because we're friendly with each other. But he kind of whacks me, and then I respond to it, and then he never says anything. I'm like, well, I thought you wanted to debate me. Now you're hitting and run.
He's kind of hit and run. He's kind of hit and run.
He's hitting and running me. And then the last one is this Grover Norquist. Now, if you look up Grover Norquist, if you're somebody who pays attention to Fox News, if you've been paying attention to big time Republican tax policy, it's always been Grover Norquist running the show and kind of setting the agenda. He's the tax guy for the Republican Party. But if you dig into Grover Norquist, you're going to find out he's on the Council of Foreign Relations. He's got all of the bona fides that we don't like. He's coming from the end of globalism and tax reform for the big money. And if that's something you desire, if that's something you think is appealing, then you're going to like Grover Norquist. But if you're somebody like me and sees those people as being fraudulent from the get-go, they work for big money interest. They share big money interest concerns. They sell them on Fox News day in and day out, and they have unsuspecting conservative voters falling in line with guys like Art Laffer and Grover Norquist, who are, I'm assuming, very fine people, but not always in alignment with the masses, if you will, the 80% that are trying to survive in this crazy world that we live in. So that is the group. I'll make this one comment, and then I'll let you guys give your opinion on it. I think that the Republican Party going all in the state of Missouri on A5 ultimately is going to be a thorn in their shoe for a long time, because when you get beat at the margins that they got beat, and then you have the general election coming up with a split Republican Party and a very enthusiastic Democrat Party, I smell trouble in the state of Missouri. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think that I am. I think we're going to see some problems arise in the state of Missouri. What say you guys?
I would agree with that. I think there was trouble brewing even before this, and this just threw gasoline on it. I mean, this is potentially going to be a rough November, and hopefully our good folks get through it.
Yeah,
don't get caught in the crossfire. That's my biggest concern right now.
Me too. Amy?
Yeah, no, I agree. The state's in trouble, and A5 was a not very well thought out attempt to cover up the mess that we're in, and the citizens saw through it. So to your point, AFP has posted on X, congratulations to Speaker John Patterson on his primary win. We are looking forward to continuing the fight for his victory in November. But
no way.
Yeah, wait.
That's the first sentence from Americans for Prosperity is to suck up the guy that controls all the legislation that gives them all their money.
The very first comment, Dennis says, "This is the loser that tried to pass A4 and A5."
Yeah, that's what they're going to. That's
the very first comment. And so you're right. I think they're going to get hit by that time and time again. I mean, 80% of the people. So they're going to get it from the Democrats, and they're going to get it from the Republicans.
Yeah, and Patterson, he's got a lot of money. I mean, he really does have a lot of money in his war chest. But he's going to have a tough fight there, and that district is probably 50-50 anyway. And you got Carrie Engel, who's going to be she's going to be able to raise some money, and it's with the A5 stuff might be the death nail for his campaign trying to get into the Senate. And I know FP is going to try to go for him because they just lost Curtis Trent, which was one of their main.
That was their baby
people in the Senate. Yeah. So.
Oh, good Lord!
They need their guy there. They need their rep.
Camellia has written a dissertation, so make sure to read that one next. Oh my, it's so much. I can't read it.
Can you give it to get it to Mike, and then we'll pop it up on the screen? I'm just curious what Americans for Prosperity is saying. The reason I find her so entertaining to me, I find Camellia entertaining.
Oh my gosh, this is so long.
She kept saying that they were winning, and I'm like, okay, maybe she knows something that I don't. I did not know how A4 or A5 were going to go until last night, but the margins are so incredible that you would think an organization with the money behind them, like
Mike, I texted that to you. I don't know if that's going to work.
I'm going to look for it here.
They'd have some idea. You know what I mean?
Good morning. I see it here.
It's so long. I mean, it's.
Hold on just a second. I'll grab.
I'll do Carrington Financial real fast, and then everybody, if you don't mind.
No, that's not the one, Mike. There's a longer one.
I'll let you guys.
It's not the one that says "Good morning." The fundamental good, right?
Maybe it's a long and it goes on.
Yeah, it goes very long.
Yeah, that's the one.
I was everybody that's listening, and because this is primarily a 90% Missouri audience. If you're in Missouri and you're paying attention, do us a favor. When Isaiah is not here, I don't do things properly, but like, comment, share, and subscribe. It just helps us greatly. Like, comment, share. We got a lot of comments, obviously. Like, comments, share, and subscribe. If you do that for us, whether you're on Rumble, even if you watch it later, even if you're on Rumble, YouTube, X, and you can listen without commercials on X, by the way. If you don't have an X profile, much easier to listen on X without the commercials. YouTube, obviously. I don't know how YouTube algorithms, sometimes it's crazy. I was going to tell you guys this. On the algorithms, I was looking at it last night. There'll be times on Facebook where I have 800 to 900 views. Next day, I'll have 2,000. I'll have 1,000, 1,500, 2,000.
Very hard to follow.
On Rumble, the next day I'll have 600, 700. I go over to YouTube. Sometimes I'll have 150. Sometimes I have 2,500. How do you make sense of any of these numbers? I told Isaiah, I said, you got to be a genius to try to figure out where to go with these things, because we try to run everybody to Rumble. We take everybody to Rumble because if you go into my website, therobbcartershow.com, and hit listen live, it'll take you to Rumble. And then everybody starts complaining that there's commercials every 5 seconds. I go, well, there was no commercials. That's why we put it on Rumble. Now there's
commercials. I don't know. I don't know if they're following you.
We see the same thing. Some days it seems like we get better traction on Facebook, and the next day it's X.
Yeah.
And it's
impossible
we haven't been able to figure it out.
Yeah, because I want to wherever the audience wants to be, I want to take them there, and I don't know. It changes every day. All right, Carrington Financial. We had my man Rick Babbitts on yesterday. Very quickly, if you're nearing retirement, if you have money to grow, if you have money to protect, you should get an opinion from somebody who knows the politics of the day, knows the currencies, and knows the financial situation going on in this country. I highly recommend, I'm telling you, get an opinion from Rick Babbitts, 314-671-0525. He's kind of a savant, kind of a genius type person. And if you have money that you're trying to grow because you're nearing retirement, you got to get an opinion from Rick Babbitts, 314-671-0525, yourcaringadvisor.com, yourcaringadvisor.com. Financial planning expert, biblical principles with your money. Rick Babbitts, 314-671-0525. And again, like, comment, share, subscribe. Even if you're watching later on tonight and you're not watching the show as we're doing it live, because we're getting about half the audience now, 60% of the audience listens later. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, like, share, comment. You know the deal. All right. Did you find it?
Yep, I did. It's labeled AFP there on the screen.
All right, let me see if I can find AFP.
Hopefully we'll be able to read it, because it's pretty long, but
I don't see oh, there it is. All right. I can't blow it up, so I won't be able to see it. Can you guys see it?
I can see it. It's long.
I can read it off of my or Amy can read it off her phone, maybe.
It's such a long. Are you sure?
Amy's like, I don't want to read that whole thing.
I don't mind. No, I don't mind reading it. It's just it's so long that it's.
I want to know what Americans for Prosperity thinks about this.
Well, this is Camilla herself. So
right, she is the spokesperson.
Yeah, this is Good Morning Missouri. You win some, you lose some. In the end, there are never regrets when you come to the table with solutions and fight for them. The fundamental good and rightness of the conservative principles of small government and lower taxes is unchanged. I will never stop working for what is good in my state. Lots of lessons learned and factors that can be talked about, and I'm sure I will more in the future, but voters were not happy with this particular situation. I will say what I said on This Week in Missouri Politics last night. I would invite those folks to come to be part of the solution now. Bring your ideas. Be part of the process before it gets to the legislative vote, before it gets to the ballot. Now, I know some of you are hoping I will disappear. I'm not sorry to disappoint you. Yeah, but I'm definitely not going anywhere. My parents didn't raise a quitter. In the meantime, I would encourage you to read the insights below from a dear friend at Me Armstrong 77. Which
you don't have to read that if you don't want to.
Yeah, and then it just goes on and on. So that's basically her. And it goes to that. So what's interesting is when we first started doing this, we were invited to the center right meeting. Wasn't that what that was called? Yep. And so we got an invite. I'm like, okay, so we'll go to this meeting. We're up at the Capitol, and it's got Tim sitting at the desk and these various groups. And I don't know.
Basically the groups that you saw at the bottom of that list.
Pretty much, now that we know the players, but we just kind of thought, well, let's just go. And we'll just say, yeah, we're Act for Missouri, and we're just a citizen advocacy group, and see how far it goes. It's so silly. And we went, and then we soon after that, I think we just stopped going, and then we got kicked off the invite list.
You guys are troublemakers. I've been saying that for quite some time. Well, on a personal note with you guys, because we got maybe 10 minutes left.
Mhm.
What's been going on with act4mo.org? It seems to me like you're getting, and it's probably because you're talking to me. That's why I perceive it that way. I'm saying. It seems to me like more people are talking about you in my circles, or they're using. I had somebody that doesn't even live in the state, said they've been using your website to kind of understand what's going on in Missourian who moved. And are you getting more traffic coming in?
We
Paying
are.
Yeah.
attention to what you're doing?
We were getting for most of July coming up to the election when we put out our voter guide. We started getting about 150, 200 people a day getting on it. Yesterday, we had like 5,000 people get on our website. I mean, we had a huge spike yesterday. And I think part of it was we put out the quiz for people to take for the A4 and A5. Our voter guide, people were grabbing it before they went into the polls. And you know,
that's exciting.
I think you said Dana. Didn't Dana? You said somebody.
Dana Bowers. Yeah, Dana Bowers.
Yeah, and I think she's pushed that. Her push has contributed a lot to that.
Yeah, she said to me, I was talking to her the other, if people don't know who Dana Bowers is, she's been very outspoken in Franklin County about AI data centers. She's been causing a lot of trouble out there. And I think she had a big win last night, by the way. And she said to me, I was talking to her the other day, and she said, you know, I've been using that Act for Missouri website. She goes, because all of the things that I thought I knew, now that I'm going through that website, I'm starting to understand that my gut feelings were right about just kind of how these things lay out, who's associated with who. And I think she's looking at whatever she's looking at to make those determinations. I said, I said, that is why I liked Mike and Amy from the very beginning, because I just don't flat have the time. I mean, you see how much time we're going to take up today, right? I'm up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm putting a show together. Then Isaiah and I got to kind of work out the kinks around 9:15, 9:30. Then I do the show for sometimes 4 hours a day. I get done. I eat lunch. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I
you start again for the next day.
I got to prepare for the next day. I got to have something to talk about. So I gotta, you know, it's just it's consuming, and I don't have time to get in and dig down and like I would like to do and study something, because that takes time. And at some point, you got to have a wife and a family and enjoy your life. At some point, it can't be, you know, drive you crazy. So when I was watching you guys and watching the research you're putting out there, I'm like, well, this is a perfect scenario, because if we can provide the platform, and I say the same thing with Shield Maidens, if we all start to work together separately, I mean, you got your Act for Missouri, I got my People's Lobby, but if we work together and say, listen, it's one of the reasons I like Shield Maidens. Lisa was for A4. You would not believe how many people think that because Jake Jackson is so outspoken, and I consider him a part of the family at People's Lobby, Missouri, or an Ali Grafe who's very outspoken, or a Travis Hines, or some of the people that are associated with me that just constantly stick their finger in the eye of people they don't like in the Republican Party, let's say. They think it's me. And I'm like, oh, listen, I don't necessarily agree with them doing it that way at any point. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I love it. I'm like, oh, give it to them. It's right on the money. But they're free people. They're free people. They say what they're not representing People's Lobby, Missouri when they do that. We talk about that all the time. But when they want to go after somebody on their personally because they know somebody they don't like them, how's that a reflection on me? I can't talk to them because they don't like one particular.
Well, and that kind of goes back to Joe Nicola's article that he wrote. That's where they're trying to get us to. We're all move together, think together. Nobody can deviate at all. And if you do, they're going to call you names. They're going to, and we can't have that. That's how the Democrat Party moved from the party it was under JFK to absolute the border of Marxism now, you know.
Yeah, and we haven't had. I mean, so far we haven't had an issue where we disagree, but there may very well come a time where we're going to see a solution to something in two different perspectives. So far, not. But I really admire Stacy and Lisa that to remain friends, to have their principle for why they're voting the way they are, and that's okay. That is what our country is. I mean,
but it is a thought through process. They haven't. I mean, there's very minor things that Lisa thought was more important in A4 than some of the negatives. She'll say it was a close call, but we know that Lisa's done her homework. We know, you know, and I can respect her opinion even when it's different than mine.
Because you know she thought it through. Yeah, right. You know she thought it through and thought on her own.
Right, and who did more for bringing awareness to all of to the language of the bills? Because I think that's what Lisa's really good at. Is okay. Well, here's the language, and it sounds good, but here is where it's going to be contested in the Supreme Court. Here's where the holes are at. This is why the language reads this way, because this is how they intend to exploit it. And when she started explaining that to me, I'm like, oh, well, this is where I got fooled my entire life. Thank you for explaining this to me. Because once you recognize that the party isn't your buddy, because most people think, I hate the Democrats. I'm talking about if you're on the right.
Yeah, yeah.
Hate the Democrats, therefore I'm fighting against the Democrats, therefore I'm in alignment with what the Republicans do. Everything the Republicans do I like because my enemy is the Democrats and they're fighting the Democrats. And that becomes your conditioning in the way you think. It worked on me. I'll just be honest with you, it worked on me. There were times when it was straight Republican ticket, bam, I didn't even look at the Democrats, and it was just a nice and easy, get out of there, it's all Republicans. Now, I go person by person because I have a little bit more understanding of what's going on. But who did more than the shield mains of bringing these
the language.
Yeah, the language of the bill, so you understand actually what you're voting for. You got to give them credit. And boy, oh boy.
And they laid the model down for the rest of us. I mean, because not only did they bring the information, they always made it available for you to go and do your own research. And when we were starting out, that's what I loved about them, is because I'd hear what they say and say, oh my Lord. And then I could go through and look through all of their research, dig into it, look at it myself. And we've tried to follow the same thing. We try to not just point out what we don't like about stuff. We say what's good in these legislation. We say what could be better. And we also try to lay out so people can research it as deep as they want to.
I love it. I love your website. I just think it is. How long did it take you to build that thing, man?
I don't think it ever ends.
It's always changing because, we started out with something small and then we'd talk about, and then he'd like, well, let's do it this way and let's do it that way. And then
the first couple of years after we'd go through session, we get to the end of session, then me and Amy would sit down and say, okay, well, what worked? What didn't work? What was helpful to people? And it just kind of, each year we'd make improvements, and we kind of got down to where we had to figure out where we fit in everything too, because we didn't want to duplicate what's already out there.
Yeah, we don't want to do what Shield Mains did.
We wanted to find our niche, and I think we finally have reached that place where we know where
I think Mike and I
we can be effective.
We've been in teaching scenarios a lot. So we kind of just saw it as we're teaching citizens. So what would a student need? Someone who's trying to learn. What is easy visually? What helped us?
Not to get frustrated and stuck in the website, right? So if you want information, you can find it.
Yep.
Right. That's the key.
Yep.
I got to say, so you come from sociology background, Amy?
Yeah. I have, yep.
And you come from a research background, Michael?
Yeah.
I would say social and psych, a lot of heavy psych and some basic research. I was pursuing a master's degree and was going to be in research.
We got to get Kit.
Yep.
Your husband, my wife together, because I love talking about sociology, psychology. I love it. I'm fascinated by. That's why I talk about MK Ultra. Everybody thinks I'm crazy. I'm like, I'm fascinated by the idea that you can so change the surroundings of what people take as information, and that becomes a reality. It's not
Mike's got the cognitive neurology of the brain. So, I mean, he's telling us how the brain actually takes that and then starts to do these things. So, yeah, we talk about that a lot. Yeah, we're a little bit like, what is going on with these people that get up there? Like, is it the time warp? Is it a group think? Is it psychology? Does the brain get rewired?
Right. And I think people think you're arrogant when you say that. I say that I'm susceptible just like everybody else.
Absolutely.
I want to know how it happens to me too. I fall into little pitfalls and traps all the time. And I'm thinking,
that's part of that's part of the way we understand it, is because we're looking back at how did we get to where we were and how did we get out of it is the other things.
Yes. And how do you stay out of it?
And I think that's been hard for me personally, because I just know the more I've learned, the bigger the scope has gotten, and that I've realized the corruption of the system is so large.
Me too.
Yeah.
That I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. That's
but in some ways, that's also let me step back a little bit and go, you know what? We're not going to beat this monster. The best we're going to do is irritate it a little bit.
Well, I always say you got to make a deal with your captors. When people say,
Robb,
you know, my brother Robb, if you've seen him, he comes to all the meetings. He calls me his revolutionary brother. And I said, only in a sense that I think that the system is controlled to a degree. I don't think that we're all going to wake up tomorrow and the United States is going to be on fire or we're not going to have any water. I'm not one of those type of people. But I think what's happening is they want to restructure the way America works and work around the Constitution into something that is a little bit more like China, where they have stability, and they want stability and they want control. And stability and control doesn't always align with freedom. And I'm a person
Right.
with freedom. So I want as much freedom as I can possibly get within this structure. I have my buddy, I have several friends who don't think we should be paying taxes at all. They think we shouldn't be paying income taxes to the federal government at all. I get where they're coming from, but I always say to them, even if you're right, if the courts don't recognize it and the sheriff is still going to or even if you're right, the enforcement mechanism remains the same. And I don't know that I want to end up in prison for something that these people could wake up one day and say, these are the laws and this is the way it goes. And I worry about that. So that's why
Yeah.
I'm going to have some of these people on, by the way. So
I'd like to hear, and I've heard this. I had a new friend when I lived out in Arizona that he did not pay any of his taxes, and he argued it. And I think he did end up going to jail, but he's like, no, I'll go to jail for the time that it is. I'm going to get out and I'm served my time for the offense, and that's it. I'm not paying. I don't know if I could do that.
I'm not a good prison person, I don't think.
Not for that.
I don't think I want to go to prison. All right, you guys, let me throw this out there real fast. There it is.
Yep.
All right. Keeping the Republic, Michael Compton. I suggest everybody, especially with kids, this would be my plea to parents that have kids that can read. If you have kids that can read, they should understand how to survive in our society, how to make it grow, how to make it better, and how to protect your freedoms and your liberties. If you don't know, as a parent, I did not do a very good job of it because I wasn't looking at it from this angle
either. Yeah.
When it mattered. Yeah, when it mattered. So I look at it now and I think, man, something like this, when you just say, you know what, kids, you want that car when you turn 16 years old? I want you to read this book and I want you to be able to explain it to me so that I know when you get out into the world, you're going to be a decent citizen. And I think these are, I love the fact that you put this book together. I think it is fantastic. I think it should be in schools and libraries. And I think one of the most important things that our show ultimately will get to is making politics interesting again. I think when politics is interesting and you don't start screaming at the TV all the time, and you're throwing your shoe at it, and I got to walk away from too. If we get away from that, and we just make it interesting, so you understand the ins and outs, because politics is a very dirty game, and you can make intelligent decisions. You'll have a better life. You'll have a better family. You'll have a better community. You'll have a better structure, and everything gets better. That's my take on it. Keeping the Republic, a citizen's guide for the next 250 years. There you go. Michael Compton. All right, guys, I really appreciate it. Let me give you one. Where do you eat lunch when you're in Franklin County? If everybody forgets, let me remind them. Moe's Pizza in Missouri. You guys have been there many times with me.
Yep.
I always got to give a shout out at the end of the show to Moe's Pizza. Just wonderful people, wonderful environment, family environment. As he always tells me, Rob, God owns the place. I just work here. And what you'll find when you go to Moe's Pizza, if you're somebody in Franklin County or passing through or in the surrounding area, get out there and check it out. Great people work for them. Remember the old businesses where you're always trying to find the right teenagers to come into your business?
Great teenagers.
When we grew up, that's kind of how you determined whether a small business was good, by the young people that did they act right, or were they on, were they care, were they lazy? But you'd have certain. That's the way. What's the chicken place built their business originally?
Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A. That was the way they built their business. That's why everybody loved Chick-fil-A there for a time. Everybody was nice when you went in there. It was a Christian organization. The people were on the ball. This is the way it is at Moe's Pizza. Great people working there, great environment, family, no alcohol, family environment. As he says, great pizza, great salad bar, all you can eat. I think it's somewhere between right around $13.
Yeah, it's very reasonable.
Great deal. It's
wonderful, and I just love the environment. But you have the chicken wings, you have the sandwiches, you have the burgers, and I happen to love their ice cream too. So you might want to check that out. If you have any kind of get together, whether it's any kind of banquet space that you might need, birthday parties, anniversaries, political meetings, and Bible studies, it's always Moe's Pizza, a landmark in Washington, Missouri. When it's time for lunch and you're in the area, get out to Moe's Pizza. And I think that's it. You guys, thanks for tuning in. You guys want to say anything to Isaiah, because he's been taken off the last couple of days?
I hope you're feeling better, Isaiah.
What happens? That's what happens when you have kids. They bring home the bugs.
Yeah, that's exactly the case.
They're little snot monsters.
Yeah.
He said his cute little daughter is the one that made him sick. His wife is sick, and they're miserable. He was hacking and coughing, but he put the show together for me today a bit. So I may be calling you again tomorrow morning, you guys.
That's all right. Well, hang in there, Isaiah. I know it's rough when the whole house is taken out.
Amen. And thank you guys for joining us today. It was perfect timing because we need to get through Missouri.
No, this worked out because we could talk about the election, and
helps us go through it too and get kind of our minds going.
It's been a busy couple of days for you guys. I watched it last night. You're up again early this morning, so I really, really appreciate you guys joining me.
Yep.
All right. Well, take care, Rob.
Take care, Missouri.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Are we off?
We're going to be in just a second.
Oh,
there you go.
Okay.
All right. See you guys. Enjoy the day. All right, everybody. Let me wind it down here just a bit. We'll probably talk a little bit Missouri politics for the next couple of days, but we'll get back to some of the big stories that are going on nationally. I want to talk a little bit about what's going on in Spain here before too terribly long. We'll talk about the elections coming up, the general elections. I did not get into Wesley Bell. He beat Cory Bush last night. So a lot of stuff going on in politics, a lot of stuff going on in pop culture, a lot of things to talk about. I do want to Friday again talk about Charlie Kirk. Don't forget tomorrow, and we probably should clip this, Isaiah or Tom. Tomorrow is MMTLP. I think we're bringing them on right around 10:30. This is a story I've been covering for quite some time. I see it as a financial fraud story that has to do with brokers, dealers, the over-the-counter markets. A lot of controversy about MMTLP, but I think it is indicative of what power can do when the people don't have a voice in their government. And I think that's what's going on with MMTLP. We'll talk about MMTLP tomorrow. We'll talk about Charlie Kirk. I think we'll call it Charlie Kirk Part 2 on Friday. And again, we'll touch on Missouri politics because a lot happened last night. Anyway, that's all we got for you. Isaiah, I hope you feel better. Jake Jackson, you're supposed to come on today. Maybe we'll have you on in the next couple of days. Other than that, we'll see you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. on the Robb Carter Show. Have a great day, everybody.